Okay, it's 6:49, and I call this meeting to order. This is the workshop meeting of October 3. And Penny, can you please read the opening statement and take the roll?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this workshop meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner. By the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on December 21, 2005. By the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press, Tri-Town News, and Star Ledger for publication on December 21, 2005. By the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on December 21, 2005. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with 3 emergency exits for your safety. The locations are as follows. Upon exiting the meeting room, to the rear there to your immediate left and immediate right, and at the front of the meeting room at the left of the dais. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Township TV 77. Roll call, Mr. Malavey.
Here.
Mrs. Showmaker.
I understand, having spoken with Tom, that Cynthia will not be here tonight.
Mr. Tabasco.
Present.
Mr. Walsh.
Here.
Mayor DeBella.
And Mayor DeBella will not be here tonight.
Okay, executive.
Yeah, so I do understand we have a reason to go into executive session, either for personnel reasons or contract negotiation, etc. Can you please read the statement?
Sure.
I have a couple litigation matters.
Personnel. Okay,
Good.
litigation and personnel. No. Whereas Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 13 of the New Jersey Revised Statutes require that the public shall be excluded from any meetings of a public body unless a resolution authorizing such exclusion is adopted at a public meeting. Whereas the Township Council of the Township of Howell has determined that such a closed meeting is required to discuss certain matters which are exempted from consideration with the public in attendance under New Jersey Revised Statutes 10:4-12. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Howell that the public shall be excluded from the next portion of this meeting and that the Township Council will reconvene in public session thereafter. Be it further resolved that minutes will be kept of the meeting in closed session and the time and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public cannot be determined at this time.
I need a motion to go into executive.
Motion to go into executive session?
Now I need a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Malavey?
Yes.
Mr. Tabasco?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Okay, we are done with the regular session for now. We're going into executive. We'll be back right at 8 o'clock. Okay, it's 8:06, and I'm calling to order the workshop meeting on this date, October 3. We already had a call to order in the opening statement and roll call. We just came out of executive session. I'll ask everybody to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll ask that everyone please remain standing for a moment here. First of all, to pay respects to those who serve us overseas to protect our way of life. And also, there's been a number of tragedies both around our town and around the country this past week. For some people near and dear to us, Mike Howell was actually one of the people competing for the council seat this year. His mother passed. We had a Colts Neck High School student also involved in a motor vehicle accident this past week and passed. His name being Mark Zarantinello. We have people who serve for us on the zoning board who had 2 people in their family were the kids that were actually killed by the police officer in South Jersey this week.
In the accident.
And we also had the tragedy of the school shootings. I think it was 3 of them. So for all those reasons, there was 5?
5 kids in Lancaster.
But 3 different separate shootings, 5 kids in that one incident alone. So for all those reasons, we're going to have a moment of silence here and pay our respects. Thank you. All right, once again, I'm going to go through the protocol first, and we'll get into the meeting. This is the workshop meeting. Next week, we'll have our public participation meeting, and just as a reminder, as I did last week, I'll remind everybody that next week's meeting is not going to be in Town Hall. It's at Howell Memorial Middle School. At the workshop meeting, the council goes through the agenda, discusses a lot of items, and the hearing of citizens actually comes afterwards, because a lot of your questions may be answered as we address some of the things that are on the agenda. At the regular meeting at the end of the month, that's when the hearing of citizens comes first. So we're going to get right into it and start with the report of officials, and as has been the norm, I'm starting at the top left, and I'll ask Bill first if he has anything to report on. This is Bill Nunziato, the Township Engineer.
None, sir. Starts it.
Say it again, Bill.
None.
Okay. Jeff, anything?
I do have one item that probably is pretty quick. As you're aware, we have some new sales tax that have taken effect October 1st, and it does affect the township in that it affects our park and ride. All right, with council's approval, we have been doing, and the public service has been doing a study, was already in the process of doing a study on the parking fees, since we have some of the lowest fees in the area. Now this just brings it to a head where we're going to have to complete that pretty quick. At this point in time, with council's approval, the sales tax is due and owing the state at a rate of 7% as of October 1st. I would like to take a hit on our revenue and take the 7% out of what we're already collecting as far as sales tax until we can do a rate study and decide where the rate should be and set the rates to include the tax at that point in time. But I don't think for 3 months or 2 months that it takes to do the study and do an ordinance is going to be that serious in our revenue stream that we can't take the 7% hit and just absorb the tax from the revenue we're already collecting. So I would like to have council's thoughts on that, as we move ahead and try to comply with the state statutes.
Okay.
What dollar amount are we talking about?
7% of our park and ride fees. That would be the permits and the meter.
So ballpark, what are we collecting a year? 100,000, 300,000, 200,000?
Right now, the permits are relatively slow, but, we're going to sell our 07 permits in December. They take effect in January 1st. So December, we're going to have a big head of revenue from the permits. Right now, prorated cost on a car, for the rest of the year is like $30. So, and the parking meter out there is, we're talking about $600 a month, so about $40 in taxes a month is what we're talking about as far as the parking meter.
So based on what Jeff just told us, I'm okay, but I'll take some of your opinions on it right now if you want to proffer an opinion there, Bob. Sounds
We're going to have to pay it, are we not, sir?
We have to pay it. Yeah, the decision here is, do we tack the 7% on and go crazy with pennies here and there, and charge somebody $3.21 or $30.21 for a park and ride prorated park and ride permit, or do we just eat it at this point in time as far as just taking it out of our revenue until we can set our fees and review our fees, which we're already in the process of doing.
So I think what Bobby's asking is how much are we putting at risk here? Is it 10? Is it? What's the number? Just ballpark.
About $40 a month.
The whole total?
$80
The aggregate total?
If we can get the rate done in 2 months, that's fine. If we gets bogged down and you don't do an ordinance by December, then you're talking some serious money here with the new permits for 07. So we really need to go as far as getting a fee ordinance going. You take 2 readings. And we need to get the study done. Hopefully, get the study to you by next regular meeting. And maybe fast-track the ordinance so that it can be there for December.
So can I just understand this plainly? Real simple. October, November will cost us a total of about $80.
About $80.
Okay. I have no problem with us eating $80. I'll pay it if you want. Okay?
No, I don't have a problem with it either. That's why I brought,
On time. Okay. But, we have to get the ordinance in place by December. I mean, can we do that?
Oh, it's just there are 2 readings and passage.
Well, what do we,
We can fast track it with 2 readings in November. We just need to come to consensus next meeting on the rates.
So come back to us with the report as to what you think they'll be. And we have these 3 meetings in October, a couple in November, and a couple in December.
My only concern, if I may, is that if we don't come to consensus within the next couple of months, as you just stated, this could add up to some significant dollar amounts come January 1st.
Well, actually, come December, when we start selling the 07 permits, because then a whole year permit for the park and ride is $100. You know, and so that's $7 a car that we'll be eating if we don't come to consensus and have a new ordinance in effect by that time.
Is there any conceivable reason why you can't have the report back to us next meeting, where then the following meeting we can do an introduction?
Yeah, perhaps we can even do an introduction that night, because there's only 1 meeting in November, 1 voting meeting in November.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have a recommendation for the...
Regular meeting,
Our regular meeting,
which is 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now.
Okay.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I probably won't be here 2 weeks from now. We spoke about that. I'm trying to change. Okay? I want to keep that in your mind.
There are many, for the public's information, there are many new items that are being taxed.
We're not voting on it. You'll get to.
For the public's information, there are many new items being taxed: membership dues, your dry cleaning and laundry services. Now there are quite a few things that are being
Storage, yeah.
taxed. This is the only item that I can find that really affects how township as township government at all. And it really isn't a tax on the township as much as it's just something we're supposed to collect on behalf of the state and send in to them.
Anything else, Jeff?
That's it.
All right, Tom Gannon, you're up.
Briefly, I'm happy to report that it appears that the Hurley property settlement documents were entered by Judge Ferguson in the U.S. Bankruptcy Court. I'm going to get a confirmation, hopefully, from Mr. Kress, special counsel, and that the litigation has now been ended, and the back taxes hopefully will go to Mr. Filiatro and our tax collector in the near future.
Hopefully very soon, within the next couple of weeks or so, right?
Hopefully, I think that was within 30 days.
All right, Tom Czernetsky.
Just 2 quick items. First, I'm very pleased to report that the Finance Department today received a check from Green Acres for the bottom piece and the Lake Louise property, totaling about $2.1 million.
Great,
Nice
And
job.
nice.
I just want to point out the work of Jeffrey Filiatro, Tom Savino in engineering, and Bill Herring in Tom Gannon's office in really, you can apply for a grant, but to actually get a check from them requires mountains and mountains of paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been working diligently on that over the past few months, and now we're just a few weeks away from getting the reimbursement for the Price property as well.
Very nice.
Awesome.
And just the second thing, I'd like to remind everyone that Howell Day is this Saturday from noon to dusk, with fireworks beginning at dusk. And I really want to thank the staff, the acting director, Steve Fetcher at the Parks and Recreation Department, Helene, and the committee for all their hard work in organizing this fine event.
Thanks. All right, Helene.
No, I have nothing.
Penny?
No. Thank you for including me.
Okay. Bob, you're next.
Just a few things. Today I had to have one of those tough conversations with my 16-year-old about the 17-year-old young man that got killed tragically over the weekend in Cold Snack. She came home, it was a tough day for her in school. Tough day for all of them over there at Cold Snack High School and a lot of the families. Just a tragic thing, and I explained to my daughter how precious life is to all of us, and to live every day and try to live a good life and reflect on yourself and do the right thing. And it was a very hard conversation with her. She was very emotional. My prayers go out to the family. It's tragic, tragic thing. I wanted her to keep it in mind that, life is that precious to all of us. And to anybody that close to it, it's probably the worst thing they'll ever go through in their life. So I just wanted to bring that up. I have some other little things that really don't even pale in comparison to that. So I did get a frantic phone call, Mr. Nunziata, about something with the water over here in the Manasquan development over there. Has anybody called you? Okay. I have somebody wanting to stop by my house tomorrow. There were some signs on the lawn. Their water bill's like $800 or something like that in one of the new developments, and there's only 1 meter. And I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking if you've received some calls.
No, sir.
Do you mind if I put them in touch with you when they come to my home tomorrow? Or would you rather
I
put them in
have
touch?
gotten, Mr. Walsh.
Excuse
I have
me?
received some calls.
Okay. What should I do with this, Mr. Chinecki? What should I do with this?
I haven't received any calls in my office, so first time hearing of it, let us investigate it.
Well, they're coming to my house tomorrow, a few of the residents.
have them
Yeah, I have no, that's why I want to know where you want me to go with it.
Right.
As a history, and perhaps maybe council can decide, because about a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, I got involved as deputy manager at the time with the Toscana development that had a similar situation where there were a new development and they are being served by New Jersey American Water, and New Jersey American Water charges sewer rates based on flow. So in the summertime, when you're watering your lawn, you're paying for sewer that isn't going in the sewer. And the only real answer that New Jersey American Water offers is you can put in a separate meter for your irrigation system, and they don't charge a sewer rate on that flow. This is now a new development that evidently is facing the same problem. And at the time, the advice that the council had was, we can listen to them, we can try to do what we can, but New Jersey American is a BPU regulated entity, and unless BPU forces them or allows them to change their rates, there isn't a whole lot we can do but encourage them to either put in irrigation wells or put in the separate meter.
Mr. Figliacci, I just want to know where to send them, because coming to my house isn't about to solve this issue.
Right.
So I'm going to punt them somewhere. I'd like to punt them where something can happen. Okay? And I will have them contact you, or I will call you when they come to my home, okay, sir?
Yes.
Anything with the Challenger League, anything new? With the Challenger, with baseball and Little League?
I haven't, the last report I gave you was at last week, 2 weeks ago, meaning.
weeks ago.
I haven't talked to Stephen.
I told him I ask about it all the time, that's all.
Okay, I will give him a call and get an updated report.
Okay. And I also have been contacted by a member of the former member of the Harlem Wizards that runs basketball camps for special needs children. And I've instructed him to send a package of information to you, okay, over at the town hall here.
Okay, I'll pass that on to Stephen.
Anything new we talked about last time about the environmental issues over there with the stream in between Dion's Tree Service and the villages? Has anybody looked into that and come back with something to report to us?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay, I'd appreciate if somebody would follow up on that and come back. I remember Ms. Dixell a couple weeks ago talking about it in depth, and
What is it exactly that you want them to come back with? I'm
I
not,
don't know, they said they were going to look into it. It was a environmentally sensitive stream over there, and they said they were going to look into it and get back to us with a report on it. I just would like to know what they can come back with. I don't know what they're going to come back with. They may come back and tell me, Mr. Walsh, none of your business. I don't know. But I'm just asking.
well, just to help you out, Tom, west of Highway 9, the reservoir, the Manasquan River is actually designated as a Category 1 waterway, and then east of, I think it's Ketchum Road, it's designated as a Category 1 waterway, but between those 2 points, it's left as a stream, which has a different buffering rule than Category 1 waterways do. So that's what I think you want an opinion as to whether it should be designated as a Category 1 waterway between
Wonder
those
what's
two
going
things.
on over there. One of the residents questioned it, a couple other residents have brought it up to my attention, is they come back with anything on, and I said, I don't know. I said, I'll ask at the council meeting.
I know who you may
Yeah.
want. You may want to contact Steve Taylor from the water shed, Manasquan River Watershed Association.
Rich Famularo.
Yeah, and also Steve Taylor, though. He's come up here and presented reports before, a year and a half ago.
That's all from me.
Okay, Juan, you're up.
Just, we received a note from the Recreation Advisory Committee, and they're requesting that we give recognition to the PAL volunteers that participated at the Howell night at the Blue Claws game back in May. And it was because of their efforts that they were able to raise approximately $750 that went to the PAL group. So we would like to have them come in and be recognized for their efforts at some point in the near future. And also, while we are at that, we should also bring, in my opinion, a young man by the name of Joe Garaffa. Joe did
Out front.
an Eagle Scout project right out front that I drove this evening and had the opportunity to see it, and it's a beautiful display of farming memorabilia that actually pays tribute to the Howard families that do their living as farmers, and it kind of reminds us that Howard Township is still a farming community. So that was great to see. He did a phenomenal job, and I think he should be recognized for that. Mr. C already mentioned Howard Day on Saturday, October 7th at Oakland Park. The only thing I would add to that is that I would remind the citizens to please come and bring a non-perishable item to donate to the food pantry. It's not mandatory, it's optional. With the holidays approaching, the food pantry, Howard Township Food Pantry, could really use all the help they can get. So if you could please find it within your hearts to bring an item. There will be cans at the entrance to the park that you can drop off those items. Just one more thing here. We received, and we all got it in our pockets tonight, so I haven't really had an opportunity to go through it thoroughly, but we received a letter from Ms. Cardon, Marie Cardon, requesting some information that she had actually requested back at the last council meeting we had on September 19th over here. I believe she requested some answers through a married, I believe Mr. C, if I remember correctly, she had requested some answers that I believe Mr. Gannon was supposed to had worked on and gotten back to her with through your office. The matter that she needs this because this Thursday she wants to have some sort of answers by then, and hopefully that will be possible, that we can reach out to her and get her some of the answers that she requested from us.
Right, I've been working with Mr. Gannon and the professionals on the planning board to respond to those as best we could.
Okay, so
Okay.
it would be safe to say that she may receive some sort of answers in writing. I believe she had requested some answers in writing.
It'll be
before
available
Thursday?
tomorrow afternoon.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Also, back, I wasn't at the present meeting at the time when the main council were discussing removing of signs throughout the township that were basically living the community. I know in the past I have mentioned that before. I know I had mentioned real estate signs, and Pete kind of looked at me when I said that, but what I mean by...
Well, not just the real, any real business in town. I didn't want necessarily to hurt real businesses that actually help the town.
I understand that, and I agree with you. The intent here is not to hurt any business in town. It's basically to clean up the community, because, you know, you leave all these open house signs and work for 9 hours out of your home for $9 an hour job at home and this and that, and they live in there for weeks, it seems like, and if not months. So that was great to see. It looks a lot better, the corners, when I turn around and don't see all these signs there. But Mr. C, I reached out to you last week. I was concerned about a sign that was asked to be removed by one of our local farmers here in Howell. And, you know, I went to meet Mr. Mr. Kaufman. I could say his name because he has given me permission to do so on Saturday. And, you know, the sign is down, you know, as per our ordinance. So we did what we had to do, and the code enforcer did his job, and we appreciate that. The only thing I would add to that is that somehow we have to look at that ordinance and maybe perhaps tweak it. Because if it's going to affect a farmer in this community that he has a sign at a private lot, may I add, it wasn't really township property or open space or anything like that. It was a private lot that he had received permission to put that sign up from that lot owner. Although he didn't have my understanding, he did not have a written permission from the lot owner, and which was required by ordinance to have. He did remove the sign, but again, I would like for us sometime in the very near future to bring that ordinance to light, and perhaps we can tweak it a little bit to make it so that it doesn't affect our business owners, doesn't affect our particularly our farmers,
Right.
because this is their way of life and the only source of income. So it was a beautiful sign. I saw it almost every week when I drove by there. It wasn't a small sign. It was a big wooden sign that I'm sure cost a nice penny to put up there. So if we could at some point bring that ordinance to light so we can review it and see if we can make it more business friendly, that would be great.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor, that's all I really have for right now.
Well, you stole my thunder a little bit on the signs there, Juan, and I agree with what Juan just discussed, is if we do have a hole in that ordinance, the sign ordinance, I mean, which does not permit us to be selective in what signs we clean up, then we should take another look at it, because it wasn't just the farmers, it wasn't just the realtors, there's a lot of legitimate businesses in town that were hurt by it, farmers being the most hurt, because obviously they have a limited window of time to sell their wares, and when they're putting out, I have tomatoes this week, and the signs are taken down, doesn't benefit them at all. So I agree with Juan on that.
Perhaps a seasonal sign ordinance might be something that we look into.
Mm-hmm.
Or even,
Well, come back to us with what you think would be best practices that's used elsewhere around the state. And
you know, speaking with some realtors, you know, being a mortgage banker, you know, putting up an open house sign on a Friday and have to have it down by Sunday, I mean, we're hurting the resident also who's trying to sell their home because people don't know where it's at. So the open house signs are for, to guide people to the property. A lot of people drive around looking for homes. I did vote for the ordinance. I wish every time I made a mistake in life I had a chance at a do-over. I think here we have a chance at a do-over, and we could do it better to fit the needs of the residents of the town, more appropriate fashion. I think it's a little bit over the top. But yeah, I voted for it.
all right, so enough on the signs for now. I will tell everybody out there that you see just the three of us here tonight. Cynthia is absent because of some family business, some family emergencies, according to Tom. Joe happens to be entertaining some clients at the Cathedral of Baseball tonight, so that's why he's not here. He's at Yankee Stadium. So
I gave up my tickets.
so that's why you see me, Deputy Mayor, running the meeting. Now, he did pass along some notes that I'll actually paraphrase, because we'll be here for a long time if I read the whole thing, but I will tell you about some things that actually happened in the past week that he wanted me to note. And one was that we as Howell Township did host international dignitaries last week, one of them being the mayor-governor of Mongolia's capital city. You may have seen some of it reported about in a couple of the local papers, but the mayor was there, I was there, Councilman Walsh was there. There was an exchange of gifts and a lot of comments about, common bonds, and what was interesting, and their culture is 800 years old. Mongolia is important to the United States in that they're right between Russia and China. So there's obvious reasons why we want to have great relations with somebody right between there. They have been an ally in the war on terror, and we did have many members from our local community, the Canada community here in Howell, attend that meeting as well. It was a daytime meeting, so we couldn't get as many people as you probably would have liked to have had, but the mayor-governor was impressed that there were the people here that were here. We actually talked about visiting there. They offered to have us go out and visit, having almost like a cultural exchange of dignitaries next year. So we're actually going to look into that. We'll do some fundraisers maybe to get the money so it's not affecting the taxpayers. And we also spoke about policing. They were very interested in the fact that Howell was the 11th safest city in America, and they were very interested in what our Chief of Police Ron Carter had to say. So there'll be an exchange of bonds there, information, etc. Enough on that. Number two, there has been some ongoing discussions about Bear Swamp for the better part of 20 years. There was a tour given last week for people who wanted to go on it. Over the last couple of years, many of you may not know, but we as a town have been dealing with what were called postage stamp properties. Back in, I think it was the 1920s or 1930s, a lot of those postage stamp properties were given away on cereal boxes. There was 4,800 of them. So for us, in order to get clear title to that property, we had to go through a massive record hunt. And we actually figured out a way to get it where we almost have complete clear title to it now. The intention for that area, which is again known as Bear Swamp, it's about 700-800 acres, is to leave it in a passive recreational use kind of way where there might be horseback riding and hiking for people. We have to look into liability concerns when people do go in there, and we'll start entertaining that probably in the next several weeks. And Joe actually would like us to put together a committee of concerned citizens. I know there have been a number of people on this for many, many years, including Elizabeth Naskowitz, who actually I haven't seen at one of these meetings in a while, but Neskevich, I'm sorry. But he's asking that we put together a committee of concerned citizens to talk more about how to make this a fine legacy property for Howell Township forever. Another thing that he wanted to have discussed, Bonham Soccer Complex now has been, if you've been down on Maxim Southern Road and 547, you'll see that there's been a lot of progress in recent weeks there. Some of the grass is starting to grow now, and we've been calling it the Bonham Soccer Complex because that was the name of the owners previously, but we really need a good name for that property. It's going to be active probably in a year and a half for the soccer leagues. It'll be a fine place for them, but maybe we'll have a naming contest. We come up with a better name based on maybe some historical people for the town or whatever it may be, but possibly have a contest to name that place. So maybe, Helene, again, you can champion that idea. Another recreational area at the Hoffman Fields between Ketchum Road and Casino Drive, there's about 11 acres which have been discussed for a long period of time. The Pinelanders run their soccer league there, and maybe by next meeting have an update as to where that's at. I know we've been kicking that around for a long period of time. And lastly, many towns have road races through the town, especially by the shore, and they usually do it for some charitable reason where they raise funds for something. And I know Joe has been championing the food pantry for a lot of years, and he again is suggesting here that maybe we start something that becomes an annual event in Howell where we have a road race where it just keeps growing over the years. I know the reservoir is about 5 miles around. He suggested a 5K run, and who am I to tell you what the best place to be to have a road race, but it actually sounds like a great idea as an annual fundraiser to raise monies again to go towards the food pantry. So that is a summary of the notes that he left. I'll leave it at that. I have a few other things to talk about, and Tom and Juan have already spoken about Howell Day. Again, that's this Saturday. We're hoping for great weather. When there is great weather, there's usually about 10 to 20,000 people that will show up through the course of the day. Some of the details you can get online. There will be shuttles from the park and ride. I mean the DPW parking lot and other locations. I think one of them is going to be Aldrich Park and Ride.
Parking right, yeah.
And again, it's a great day. There will be fireworks at the end of the day. There'll be some oldies bands, one starting at 5:30, another at 7. I think it's the Infernos and the Shirelles, is that correct, Lee? And of course, there'll be free rides for all the kids on the one main field there. So everybody, please come. Bobby and I will obviously have booths. But there'll be plenty of other vendors selling food and plenty of other booths for all the businesses in town. So just generally, it's a great day, so please come out and participate. I know I've been going every year since I moved into town in '88, and it keeps growing and growing. It's just a great day, a great community day. I had the pleasure of cutting the ribbon on 2 different businesses the last couple of weeks. One of them was a new ice cream store in Ramtown. They redecorated the whole thing, so if you live in that area, please go have some fun with your kids and eat some good ice cream down there. And then secondly, today I was actually at a place called the Oxford Learning Center, which is a tutoring location for students. It's also a preschool type of situation there. It's different from most, but I've had parents actually ask me in the past, where do I go to get help for my kids who might just need a little bit of additional training on what they're getting in school, and I don't have the time myself to really sit with them. And this place, they actually opened in July, but they had the grand opening ribbon cutting tonight. They're located in the Friendship Plaza, which is the Kmart Plaza, actually right between the Pathmark and where Staples is, about halfway in between. That's where this Oxford Learning Center is. So if you're looking for help for your kids, that is an ideal place to take them. And the last thing I'll comment about, it's been very evident, actually, that daylight is now ending sooner. And in fact, tonight I noticed it was about 6:30. It's right about the time now, just opposite time of the year, like in April, when it's actually dangerous because kids are running in the neighborhoods now and people are just coming home. So I'm just going to ask for the next month until daylight savings time ends, that people pay particular attention when they do get back into their neighborhoods. We've been talking about traffic calming for a long period of time, but it's really up to each individual citizen to, be concerned for their fellow citizens. And right now, kids are running in the neighborhood and it's getting dark at the same time they're playing and people are coming home. So be extra careful now when you are coming home. And with that, unless anybody else has anything else they want to comment about, I'm going to close the...
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble. I also did a ribbon cutting this weekend at Aurelio Salon across from Ice Cream on 9. It's a new hair salon in town. Need a facial, your nails done, a little bit of hair coloring like I got this weekend. Seemed like a wonderful place to stop by.
There was something different about you.
So in all seriousness, do either of you have anything else to report about? Anybody over there? No, so we're going to end the report of officials and get right into the regular part of the meeting. I'm going to ask my fellow council members now to look at the consent agenda items and take your time as we go through each of the pages and comment as to whether or not you have any questions on any of these.
We got some add-ons.
We do have a number of add-ons tonight. Just bear with us while we go through. So Penny, do I need to officially add on some of these items with the other fellow council members here?
You will only need to add on to the agenda 9C4. We'll need to go into regular session. The only add-on is 9C4, and then we do have a number of action items.
Okay. 9C4 is the appointment of Sherilyn Salerno to the Howell Board of Education, actually to be a representative from the Howell Board of Education to our Broadcast Media Advisory Committee. That's what the BMAC means. So look through for a minute here, and then I'll need a motion to first of all go into regular session so we can add that.
Deputy Mayor, you're also pulling 9B11. We're requesting that be tabled.
Pull it?
Oh, yeah.
Why is that, Tom?
It's not necessary.
Just seeing if you're on top of your game tonight, sir.
All right, so I do need a motion from one of the council members to add on 9C4.
Quick question, if I may,
Yeah.
Deputy.
Sure.
9B8, didn't they ask for an extension? Is this why they're asking now for a renewal of their license? Didn't they ask for an extension about a month or so ago? That their project's going to be delayed?
It's not really an extension, I just
Go ahead.
Each year, they're required to go before the state ABC for a special ruling, and that's all this is. It takes time for the special ruling to come down from the state ABC. It's not an extension, it's just a special ruling from the state. It doesn't usually come in time for the July 1st renewals. So we do this each year for Ruby Tuesday until it's in place.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to ask a question if I could.
Sure.
9B14, hasn't there been some discussion about this,
So
about,
There's going to be an open public hearing on that.
so what are we doing tonight? Just,
That's the public hearing, I should
You'll have-
say.
Public
a
hearing will be
hearing on it.
tonight, so we're not voting on 9B14 right now.
Not
will
now,
we?
yeah.
It'll be after the public
That's right.
all right, I want to make sure about that one. I knew there was some rumbles.
Yes, many.
Any more on page 5?
No.
All right, so I will need a motion to go into regular session so we can add 9C4 and pull 9B11.
Motion to go into regular,
Yeah.
Second,
Roll call, Penny?
Mr. Malave?
yes.
Mr. Tabasco?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
yes.
Okay, now I need a motion to add on 9C4 and remove 9B11.
Make a motion to add 9C4 to the agenda and remove 9B11.
Second,
Okay, again, roll call, Penny?
Mr. Malave?
yes.
Mr. Tabasco?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
All right, so we now have on all the resolutions, et cetera, that we need, and off all the ones we don't.
Right.
So we'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Make a motion that we approve all the consent agenda items.
Second.
Just make sure we have the exception of that 9B14.
14, with the exception of 9B14.
With the exception of 9B14.
Second,
Roll call again, Penny?
Mr. Malave?
yes.
Mr. Tabasco?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
All right, we're still in regular session. Is there anything else that you want us to do while we are in regular time? Tom Czerniecki?
Two things. One is we are introducing what
9A8.
9 and right 9A8, amending the 2006 salary ordinance. This affects the municipal court judge
Right.
to bring the ordinance in line with what's been appropriated.
In fact, he was here actually a couple meetings ago, if you recall, Bob and Lon.
Right. In addition, we also in session need to have the public hearing on the on 9B14.
All right, so I would ask that one of the council members go to 9A8 in the book. And,
Good luck.
yeah,
I'm sorry. Also, Deputy Mayor, there needs to be a public hearing on 9A1. 8A1, excuse me.
right. Okay, so three things. First, we'll do 9A8 first, since that's just an introduction, and the other two are actually public hearings. So whoever gets there first.
Motion to introduce ordinance number 0-06-51 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in full in the October 6, 06 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with notice of its introduction, and passes on first reading by title. That'll be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on October 20th, 06 at 8 p.m., prevailing time municipal building.
I have a
Second.
motion, have a second now. Penny, will you please read it by title only?
An ordinance to amend an ordinance entitled, an ordinance fixing salary and compensation of certain offices, positions, and employees in the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, for the year 2006, and thereafter known by its short name as Howell Township Salary Ordinance.
So on the remarks, I will again repeat what Tom Czerniecki's already said, that this has to do actually with the judge's salary, and will be heard in public hearing 2 weeks from now on October 17th, right back in his chamber. So if there's no other remarks, any other remarks from...
I'd like to ask a question. I'm not going to take Councilman Malave's easy way out and call you Mr. C. Mr. Czerniecki,
Yes.
what's the current salary? I see here you have a minimum range of 35,000, the maximum of 65. What's the current salary now?
Do you know?
There wasn't one, I don't think.
Okay, it's 55, and it was raised to 65 in the budget.
The range?
I don't believe we have a range. We have a specific dollar amount at 55. That's what the current ordinance is. In the past, we did not do ranges, generally speaking, but that's something that I think is a good practice, because in the event that you were to lose an employee, you have a range that you've agreed upon already where you can hire someone into that range.
So what's the current salary now?
55,
Current salary now for a municipal judge,
yes.
okay? And we raised it to 65,
Yes.
okay?
Any other remarks from Bob or Juan?
No, sir.
I have none myself, so I'll need a motion to,
We did that.
oh, we did, yeah.
Mr. Walsh and Mr.
So
Malave.
I'll need a roll call vote then, Penny.
Roll call, Mr. Malave?
Yes.
Mr. Tabasco?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go back to the hearing of the two ordinances that we need to hear tonight. First one we'll do is 8A1. So Juan, if you're already there. Are you there?
I don't know if I'm there or not.
I got it. Would you like me to read some?
Yeah, go ahead, Bob, if you got I got it, too. Actually, I got to start off.
Yeah, you start, Pete.
This is ordinance number 06-43, introduced and passed on first reading on September 19, 2006, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance in the Asbury Park Press issue of September 22nd, 06 is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and that copies were available to the general public upon request. Penny, can you please read the title?
An ordinance of the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, New Jersey, establishing fees for raffles, bingo, and legalized games of chance.
I now open this meeting to the public for hearing, remarks, or comments for or against the final adoption of this ordinance. And I see we have Pauline. Anybody else that would like to be heard on this? Raise your hand right now, just so I know. So Pauline, you're probably going to be it. I'll ask you again in a moment, though. State your name and address and for the record.
Pauline Smith, Vanderveer Road. First, I have to apologize because I thought this was going to be at the regular meeting and didn't realize till I got here and reread it that it was today, so I didn't actually read the ordinance to do any research. But we have had a fee for as long as I can remember for such things. When we do, I know through the Historical Society or through the church, if we have a raffle or whatever, I believe it's $10 each. I don't know if that's been set by ordinance, and that's what you're doing now, or you're talking about higher fees. Because remember, we in many cases, many organizations, if you just look, if they just happen to be the C's, the raffles, unfortunately, for an example, they're both St. Veronica's Church, but you get all of the leagues, you get the PAL, all the churches, the Veterans Associations. We're all nonprofit volunteers working for a cause. The charities, Deborah, I could go on and on. I just have to stop and think. But it shouldn't be used as a revenue. That's my objection. I object to anything other than a basic fee to cover the paperwork.
Well, let me paraphrase what I think this does, and Tom Gannon, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically there's a set of standards established by the state, and this kind of brings us in line with those standards. And other than that, there really isn't anything else to this.
Well, that's my question. Is it the amount, or is it just a proper ordinance?
I think it's the ordinance is there to bring us into conformity with the one set by the state, I believe.
Does that affect the, that's been said, this is the third time over, but what about the amount of each permit? since we're all nonprofit that are affected by it.
I'm not sure if it'd have a monetary impact, other than the fact that if the state fees went up, then the fees would go up for the individual raffle or permit holder.
Because you have to have a gaming license to start with, and then this is the permit for each event, and you pay one fee to the state and one fee to the township. So I can certainly understand us being in proper conformance, rules and regulations, but I don't want to see any organization penalized for doing good works. Because after all, just like, for instance, the first aids and the fire companies, not so many years ago, we didn't pay 1 penny of our tax dollars. We all worked and did it on a volunteer basis, including earning the money. Now they're tax dollars that pay for ambulances, and I'm not complaining, it's a necessity and for the good, but it's now necessary and it wasn't before.
Well, these are all good comments, Pauline. What I will tell you is that we don't have it in our backup either, but in Section 2 of this ordinance, it does say that copies are available in the clerk's office, so Penny has to take, Penny will
Yeah,
get
I
you
know,
the
I'm just
copy.
concerned, well, you're going to approve it tonight. I just
Right.
object to any raise in a basic fee. That's all I'm talking about. Any raise in a basic fee, taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for the paperwork of the employee either. But it shouldn't be, this shouldn't be a revenue getter.
Well, this is not, we are not voting on raising the basic fee, is that correct?
No, we're just voting on to make it
Right.
standard with what the
And
state says.
that's
we
fine. I
should.
just wanted to make that clear
sure.
because I didn't have the opportunity to do the research.
No problem.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else desiring to be heard on this ordinance? One more time, anybody else desiring to be heard? All right, so then I need I will officially close the hearing of the public on this, and I need a motion from a council member now.
Motion that we close?
No,
What do you want?
read on 881 about you.
Motion in ordinance number 0-06-43 be finally passed and adopted. A notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 10606 issue. The Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
So we have a motion, I now need a second.
Second.
All right, Penny, call the roll.
Mr. Mullabay?
Yes.
Mr. Tabasco?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
All right, we still have one more ordinance to discuss tonight, and it's 9A8. Everybody please flip to that, I'll get to it myself.
We did that,
We
we
did.
introduced it.
We introduced that.
That was
we
the
did.
salary
Oh.
ordinance.
And we have
9B14.
9B14.
Be 14.
See, I'm fallible, Penny.
Oh, no joke.
Let's get to 9B14. Anybody at it yet?
Yeah, I'm there, but I'm not reading no more.
No, well, no, Pete has to start anyways.
Yeah, I'm not there
reading
yet.
no more.
I really love the computer discs.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. So much faster.
When it worked, it was
Yeah,
good. It was good.
that's right.
Bear with us, folks. Penny, do you have it right there?
The 9B14, it's the ABC liquor license.
Yeah,
I
what
know,
page
but
you on?
it's
Go
on
to
the,
section 5.
I have it, but I don't have
Five,
the,
That's what we need to know.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I think Deputy Mayor's
I don't have what I
on
need to
top of
read.
this one. He doesn't have, I don't have what you need to read either.
There's nothing to read, it's a public hearing. Tom's going to be the hearing officer.
Oh. Okay, well, it's actually a resolution then.
It's a resolution with the backup of the objection letter and the ABC liquor license.
Under the ABC rules and regulations, we had prepared a resolution approving a place-to-place transfer for a, what they call a pocket license to the strip mall that's at 16 Ramtown Greenville Road. We were advised subsequently that the clerk's office had received an objection to the transfer.
All right, so we
Once that was received, under the statute and administrative regulations for the Division of Alcoholic Beverages, the municipality at that point needs to have a hearing to determine the nature of the objection and then decide whether or not the transfer is appropriate based on the findings that you glean from the hearing. So at this point, I would suggest that the council do do a motion to open up the hearing on approving the place-to-place transfer of plenary retail license number 1319-33-019-06, which is presently a pocket status, which means it's not being utilized at this time at any location, for the Ramtown Greenville Road site to be trading as the Hungry Quail.
All right, so just to summarize what Tom just said, there's a license, and he read the number. I won't repeat it right now, but it's Brookwood Bay Beverage Company that has that license, and they're looking to transfer it to an entity that'll put an establishment on Ramtown Greenville Road and trade it as the Hungry Quail. So
I think it's known as the Quail Creek Mall.
Okay, so the restaurant will be, I guess, named the Hungry Quail at a later date. But he is right, we do need the motion to open up this resolution in a second, and then we'll open it up to the citizens to come on up and discuss.
Can you hear something?
Well, first motion and second. then we can
Motion to
make
open up the hearing.
Motion to open up the hearing on 9B14, liquor license for place-to-place.
All right, you have a motion, now need a second.
Second.
All right, under remarks. Go ahead, Bob.
Has something about this establishment come up before the planning board or zoning board yet? I like to ask professionals. It's all right. Thank you. Okay, but has something come up?
What they said.
What they said,
Yeah.
My understanding, reading the background, is that at one time there was a application for an extension or an expansion of the mall, and apparently, according to the information supplied by the license holder, there was to be a site plan, and there may in fact be a site plan, but at this point the applicant proposes to place the establishment and the license in the existing Quail Creek Mall. And at this point, I don't believe our professionals or zoning people indicated there was the need for a site plan, but that may be determined as we proceed.
Any other remarks before?
Do you understand that, Mr. Walsh?
So they want to put it inside the mall now?
My understanding from reviewing the information is that there's now an area within the mall
Answer a lot of your questions.
that a couple thousand square feet in which this restaurant, which is to have the license, is to operate.
Juan, you have a remark?
I do, unless you want to acknowledge Mr. Newcomb.
Well, I think the public hearing, you can hear the objectors first, and then maybe hear what they have to say, and then have a discussion, ask questions, and make a determination if you need to be.
I just think Tom...
Mr. Newcomb has some background information that might not,
I'd love to hear from Mr. Newcomb if he has some information.
Let me, but hold on just 1 second. So did you have a question you want them to answer first before I bring them up?
Well, for Tom's advice, I will hold off my comments until after the public hearing.
All right, so at the request of council, I'm going to call up Chuck Newcomb, who's our township planner, to come on up and speak to this a little bit, especially since it's been in front of the planning board.
The application, in fact, was the Parker Partners was the applicant that Mr. Gannon was referring to. The planning board has received revised plans, which basically has taken the restaurant out of the proposed site plan on Newton's Corner Road. And from my understanding, Mr. Gannon's right, it will be placed in the restaurant will be moved to an existing building within the shopping center.
An existing, not
An existing
a piece
shell.
of the mall,
Right,
a piece of that little mall.
Exactly.
So it's not a new building.
No, the new building, the original proposal was to be in a new building. We've received revised plans from the applicant, and right now, that new building is simply the bank, which was originally proposed, and the balance of the unit is for retail.
All right,
So the
there's enough-
restaurant has been removed.
That's a major change, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should make some comments now since I have Mr. Newcomb's attention.
Sure.
If I may.
Absolutely. Through the chair, one. Go ahead.
There's been obviously many residents in that area very concerned about this for obvious reasons. I mean, it is a residential area mostly. Hundreds, if not thousands, of small children in that area. I happen to live there, so I may be a little biased, but I won't be. I'm open-minded to the process. The concerns that have raised to me over the last couple of weeks since this came to light, it's not just the homeowners that live directly across or behind this mall, Quail Creek, but also people all over the area in Ramtown. And the biggest concerns that they have, it's obviously for the safety of the children and what impact this type of business will have in that community. I understand that it's permissible use right now, so they don't have to go for any variances. They didn't have to go to zoning board. They already went through the planning board, correct?
Well, they went through the planning board, but the planning board sent them away with a number, asking for a number of changes to the site plan. And in fact, even though they're on the agenda this week, this Thursday night, there is some concerns the professionals have in terms of the submission, so that there may be the possibility that they will probably withdraw their application this coming Thursday night for another date in the future. But like I said, the revised plans, the restaurant that was proposed is no longer in the revised plans for the project on Newton's Corner Road.
Has anybody looked at, I mean, obviously in that shopping plaza, there's several, there's doctor's offices, there's an ice cream parlor right next door to this place, where this place would be. There's pet shops, there's a pharmacy there. So it's not really a high attended or visited shopping plaza by certain people. It's mostly a family shopping plaza. So the applicant here states that, or at least in the paperwork I received, it says that it would be a family style. I don't want to paraphrase, so
Hold on. Folks getting a little louder, just let Juan speak, please. Go ahead.
Yes, it would be a family sports pub. The concern is that we don't normally take our kids to a sports bar. Okay?
Exactly.
And kids do hang out in that shopping plaza. Again, I happen to live there, and I know. They're concerned about there's a school not even a mile down the road from where this proposed site is. The other concern that they have, that at least has been brought to my attention, is the fact that do you want, it's going to be highly police presence in that area if this opens up there. My understanding is that there was a bar there at one time many years ago, and I don't know what the history of it is. I don't know if it created problems for the residents in the area, but for some reason it was closed. Obviously, it could have been any one of a million reasons, so I don't want to speculate as to why it was closed, but this is not a very desirable type of business or revenue that the residents in that area would like to see come in. And I understand that since they withdrew the application from the self-sustained building and they went into the shopping plaza, this raises bigger concerns, because now this place is going to be in conjunction with, like I said, family-oriented businesses that exist there now. So there is a karate school right there where little kids attend. There is a daycare center right next door in that shopping plaza. So there's many concerns from the residents.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mr. Gannon, I guess for you, if there's any legal resources that we have, if we could do this with, perhaps do it with some conditions, operating times, conditions, and so forth, or if it happens to be void down, what resources do we have, if any, legally?
What resources? Or
Well, I mean, as far as, obviously, it's gonna, would they go then in front of the state?
Oh, okay, in terms of appeal, first of all, you have me as a resource.
One of my concerns, only kidding, Mr. Gann.
I didn't mean it that way, sir.
I understand. What you say, in other words, you want to know if it's, first of all, public sentiment can be taken into account when you're dealing with the issuance of a liquor license. Concerns that you've just expressed with regard to the location can be the basis, if they're supported by fact and not rhetoric, for denial. Now, in this case, the use is a permitted use under our zoning ordinances.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily dispositive of the issue, because you did indicate that there may be a mix of uses in the site that's incompatible with a liquor license. But for the most part, once the use is allowed through the zoning, it is difficult to win a case when you have an appeal of right to the alcohol and beverage control. So whatever is the basis for a decision, pro or con here, should be buttressed in fact and possibly reports for our planners or police department or that type of thing. The mere fact that you may have folks express concerns is important, but again, that might not carry the day. There were some cases over the years where mayor and council of a particular town was given a petition, 500 people signed it, but they weren't specific with regard to their concerns, and that was overturned and the liquor license was approved. So I would indicate to you that you should listen, formulate plans if you believe that a planner or police department or someone should give a report in terms of negative impact on the health, safety, and welfare, then you might want to do that.
Well,
So the one thing we do have going for us is that we do have a great amount of discretion under the state law, since the use and transfer of a liquor license is a privilege as opposed to a right. So that does give us a presumption under certain circumstances. But as I indicated, the ABC will review it if it's denied for whatever reason. I'm not saying it's going to be, but you then have to buttress whatever decision you made with facts, reports, and of course the presumption at this point now is that it's a permitted use. And absent a police report that's negative or that type of thing on the individual or the financing, which I haven't seen, I don't believe, Penny, we never got anything negative in terms of background and, okay, but generally we'll still look at the whole, okay, so nothing came back negative in terms of that, so.
Just to add on to your remarks there, Tom, again, rhetoric versus fact is a big thing here. We have almost the identical situation in a strip mall on Highway 9, pretty close to where Ice Cream on 9 is. There's that Consignment Sports, there's a dance, I think it's Howell Academy, 2 dance academies, party fair where kids are constantly in and out of, there's an Indian restaurant, but there's also what has been a sports bar by 3 different names over the past 10 or 15 years. So I would ask Tom to maybe get with Chief Clutter or Captain Markaluke or whomever it may be to get the historical records as to what may have transpired in that strip mall as far as incidents. Now, saying that, we are the 11th safest city in America, so I'm not going to argue for the applicant, but it'd be pretty difficult, from what it sounds like, fact versus rhetoric, for them to prove that it would be an unsafe environment to have that there. So, we do need the facts. But there is incidents over at that, I think it was called the Pitcherman's Pub at one time, was called some other name, but there is a sports bar in the middle of a strip mall on Highway 9 that is almost identical to the situation. Now, there isn't as many kids going there because it's a distance from some of the neighborhoods that are around it as compared to this one, but it'd be good to have all the facts, as Tom was talking about there.
Pete, I'm all for getting all the facts, and I appreciate your comments. However, I think you're comparing oranges to apples there, because we're not talking about residential area on Route 9 there. You're talking about not even area, it's a commercial area. You're not talking about an area over there where the kids will actually just go and hang out in the evening hours, unlike the Square Creek Mall where they do hang out. So there's a little bit of a difference there between the location on Route 9, where it's highway development and commercially zoned, versus somewhat of a residential area in the around town section.
Well, I wasn't really offering an opinion. I'm just saying, get the facts.
And I
on the,
appreciate that, yeah.
I agree with Councilman Lavey, too. I'd like to see a lot more information on this. It's in a residential neighborhood. Kids are walking to that mall all the time unsupervised.
Thank you, Mr. Newcomb.
And I want to see a lot more information about this.
Well, I appreciate Tom's experience. I'm talking about Tom Gannon right now. 30 years of attorney experience, plus many years serving as a planning board attorney. So he's saying, build a case, get the facts.
Right.
And that's all I'm saying. If we're going to actually, if you guys feel it's a quality of life issue, and I don't disagree, let's come up with factual evidence that will support that argument. So unless there's other remarks here, I'm going to open it up to the citizens to come on up and comment about this resolution. Tom, hold on, Barbara. Tom, you had a comment? Tom Chernetsky?
Just hold on one second if I can. One option you have, Deputy Mayor, is to carry the hearing until, for the next meeting, so we can get some of the research that you asked for, and that may be the more logical flow.
Well, I think it's important that we hear the objectors.
I'd like to hear from the residents. Can we hear from the residents and still carry it?
That's the,
I'd like to hear from some of the residents about
So
this.
before you go, but please raise your hand, just so I have kind of an idea as to how many. So there's 3 or 4. Okay, Barbara, you're first. Try to be concise. There's about 5 people that want to speak, just so you know.
Don't worry about it. Barbara Dixell, the Villages, Howell Township, Monmouth County, Freehold. With reference to this, I have great cause for concern. As you've said, there is a huge residential area. There are schools. There are young kids. I'm concerned about predators from the outside. Bars, sports bars, bring strange people into your area all of a sudden at night, and under darkness and whatever, you've got kids roaming around. God forbid, we don't want any nightmares that we kind of have seen recently happen all over the place. And schools, God forbid, sexual predators, other predators, we don't want this. And it's a wonderful town. Don't screw it up with a restaurant that's now going to be a bar. Please vote no. It is a quality of life issue, and your kids and your family's health, welfare, and safety is at stake, and the welfare of the town. And I really don't think it's necessary that we have this in here. Tell them to go to Newark. Thank you.
All good points.
Thank you.
Raise your hands again so I can see. All right, please come on up. When you get to the mic, please state your name and address, too. You can sit down and relax and then comment.
My name is Kristen Pogrebnik. I live at 28 Higgins Court, directly behind Quail Creek Mall. And I, along with most of my residents in my development, I should say, are very concerned. A lot of them weren't even aware of this fact until I was notified when they were supposed to build the addition onto the property. So that's how I knew about it. But most people in our town do not have any idea this was going in. So I tried to spread the word as much as I could, but it was kind of short notice for my sake. I just want to let you know that this is not Route 9. We cannot compare it to Route 9. This is strictly residential, family, churches, schools, daycare. I take my daughter to Wendy Sue Porter School of Dance. I don't want to feel like walking past a pub to get there. I mean, that's everything against teaching my child what's right and what's wrong. Another thing I'd like to say is, let's call it what it is. It's not a family pub. That's kind of like contradictory in my opinion. I don't take my daughter to have a couple beers and talk about the Yankee game. I really don't. I mean, I think that's ridiculous. I think that's
Some people do.
Well, let those people go to Route 9 or whatever else. I just don't feel like doing that in my development at all.
Good comment.
I just don't want to sugarcoat it and call it something that's not. If you want to have a restaurant there, I have open arms to a nice family restaurant, but don't serve alcohol. I mean, that's against everything that's in that mall right there. Just want to say that Ramtown is a family-oriented community. It's occupied by mostly young families. There's a daycare, like you said. I mean, I don't want to reiterate, but there's daycare, there's karate, dance, pediatricians there that just would, like, the quality of life would go down. And alcohol, there's drunk driving you have to worry about. It's a 25-mile-an-hour speeding zone. I mean, miles an hour. And I mean, you don't have speeding zone. I mean, 25-mile-an-hour zone. I don't think that would be appropriate. I don't think that the hours of operation, when I was at the previous meeting, they said they would be closed by 11 o'clock. I kind of find that hard to believe. You're going to turn off the Yankee game or whatever game in the middle of the game and say, oh, time's up, let's go. And when are you going to stop serving alcohol? At 9 o'clock? You know, I mean, I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I'm concerned about drunk driving. They were supposed to have, if they were going to go through that first edition, if they were going to have that applicant, they were supposed to have a traffic pattern report. I mean, what happened to that? You know, I mean, the traffic around there is horrendous. I know when I come out at 5:30 from the dance school, just making a left to get to my development takes me 10 minutes, you know what I mean? So it's just, that's only going to increase the amount of accidents and such. Plus the four-way stop's only a block away. I mean, that in itself is dangerous sometimes to even cross. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about smoking. Now that it's banned inside a restaurant. Where will they be smoking? In front of the ice cream shop? You know what I mean? Like, where will they be smoking? That's what I'm
That's a great comment.
I talked about the hours of operation. Let's see. I just wanted to state this. We can't compare it to Route 9. And I don't want to wait for something like a report to say, oh, well, someone got shot there or someone got hit by a drunk driver there. I don't want to wait till that happens. Let's stop it before it gets to that point. Family restaurant, fine. I'm pro anything like a good family operated business, but don't throw alcohol into the mix because it's not going to mix.
All good comments.
Thank you for your comments.
Raise your hand again if you want to speak. Jack, you'll be next. Vince, you'll be right after Jack.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jack.
Vince Lariah, Villages.
Hi, Vince. Say your street address, too.
Yes, 56C in the Villages.
Okay.
I know you don't like this, but I have to essentially repeat the comments of the last speaker. That we're so concerned about people being injured and killed because of drunk driving. And this is just going to create all kinds of havoc in the township and in the community. You have to ask, are we prepared to police this area to keep those kinds of situations from happening? And that's all I have.
Thank you.
thank you.
All again, good comments. Thanks. Jack, you're up next. When you come to the mic, say your name and address, and then make your comment.
Jack Brannon, 16 Woodland Drive. Again, I'm not to bring up the same thing they did, but it really is a quality of life issue. This is not the same thing as Route 9. This place is surrounded by developments. As you said before, there's kids in and out of there. You know, if it can be done, I'd like to make a citizen's motion to carry this at this point until you get all the resolves in. And from the police department, any other type of a report back that Mr. Gannon said before you make a call on this.
Well, I think that was the consensus here that we will carry it, but
Okay.
I'll ask again when we finish.
Basically, that's it. I mean, it really boils down to a quality of life issue. Thank you.
I'll let you come up after everybody else speak. You, sir. State your name and address, and then you can make your comment.
My name is Ron McCullum Jr., 5 Holly Road.
Hello, Ron.
As you know, I'm at the opposite side of town, so I'm not one of the people from the local neighborhood that is largely affected by this. I would have to say that I'm very happy and pleased that in recent years a great number of fine eating establishments have opened up in town, and Howell is getting well-known for that. The commerce is doing well because of it. But I have to echo the statements of the previous speakers in that, you're talking about an essentially residential area there. A bar just doesn't belong there. And I think the town would suffer a great deal by allowing it to open up.
Appreciate your comments, Ron.
You live over by 33, by Colts Neck Crossing, is that correct?
Okay. Anybody else who desires, John Costigan, please come on up. State your name.
John Costigan, 214 Birdsall Road. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. A couple of things quickly. On Howell Day is coming up. I hope we have great weather. I know we're going to have 10 trillion people next Saturday, right?
Mr. Costigan, I think this is about this one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is not.
Oh, I apologize. I
No,
just had
it's
a few
okay.
other things. Let me sit down. I wrote it down here.
So you came into the meeting late and thought this was the
I came
hearing?
into late. I was sleeping, and I'm sorry. I won't let it happen again.
All right, so I'll repeat for everybody else out there. This is on the hearing on the establishment.
That's why A didn't get up.
And I'm sure he will later, though. Anybody else desiring to be heard on this? All right, Vinny, you can come on up next. No, I just wanted to get the
Yeah, I didn't
total
see your
picture.
hand raised.
Vinny Tantillo, Casino Drive. I'm not against what the people are saying, but it seems to me a pedophile or a predator isn't going to go to a pub to find a child. He's going to go to an ice cream store. He's going to go to a 7-Eleven. Did it ever occur to anybody that, I mean, we don't want lawsuits, and this is a permitted use. You do something to them, and they're going to sue this town.
Well, you're 100%. That's why I said let's build the case. I wasn't actually giving my opinion. I was just saying I concur with Tom, who has 30 years of history as an attorney representing towns, that we need to build a case. If this really is a quality of life issue, and again, our fiduciary responsibility as council people is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens.
Okay.
I agree with him. We need to build a case, because you're exactly right. If we do this the wrong way, we're going to get sued, wind up spending lots of money, and they're going to wind up being there anyway.
Exactly. Thank you.
Anybody else desire, you want to, all right, if there's nobody else, I'm going to have, I forgot your first name, I apologize. Come, Kristen, speak one more time.
Do you want to speak, sir?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Kristen, once again, though, say your name and address even a second time here and then comment.
Kristen Pogrebnik, 28 Higgins Court, Howell. I just have a question, basically. I have the resolution from my homeowners association president, but I just want to know, as a citizen, you need to build a case, I understand. How can we, as citizens, help you build a case? Should I get a petition going? How should I word it if I need to get a petition going? I need to, I mean, because I've talked to many residents, like on the bus stop, everywhere I could mention. How can I go about helping you?
I'll defer actually to Tom.
Yeah.
We really can't give you advice as one way or the other is how you want to proceed. Obviously, petitions are evidentiary to a certain degree, but it's just really citizens like yourself articulating their concerns and, giving us as much information as possible with regard to the nature of the proposed business and how it's incompatible with the neighborhood and possibly the mall that it's going to be located in. I mean, that's the type of information that the mayor and council need to make a determination. So, it's really just citizens voicing their concerns, public sentiment, as they call it in the courts. But, I can't give you any direct, or the mayor and council any direct. We're supposed to be the neutral arbitrators here to listen to both sides to make a determination in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare, and in accordance with the statutory requirements and the alcohol and beverage control regulations.
I guess that answers my
We
question.
can't make a case for you.
Speak with some of your citizens out there. They'll tell you what to do with the,
There's a lot of help. There's a lot of help in this room.
I just think we should be more worried about our children than whether we offend a sex offender. I'm not even worried about, I'm more worried about the drunk driver, personally.
Well, but we have to make a decision.
I know.
Okay, and has to be impartial.
Okay.
So we can't help you build the case.
I think your testimony here, though, this evening, and everybody else's testimony is a great it's a great way to start.
Well, I just want people to get involved because a lot of people think they can't do anything about it, that's all.
Oh, yes, they can.
They can.
It's your town, too.
I know.
Okay? Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Then I'll have you, sir, come on up. I didn't see your hand before, I'm sorry. You were hidden by Abe, actually.
Can't see past Dave.
Uh-oh.
I'm the petitioner. My name is Dennis Dixon.
Please state your name and address first, then.
My name is Dennis Dixon. I live at 33 Brookwood Drive
Hello, Dennis.
in Freehold,
Welcome.
New Jersey.
Hello.
I am the petitioner. We have been planning this move.
Pull that,
We gotta be able to hear you. No, you have to speak into the mic so we can.
Okay.
There you go.
We've been planning this move for a number of years. I'm a businessman. I'm actively involved in business brokerage, real estate, bars, restaurants. When we talk about Ramtown, the decision to attempt to place the liquor license and build a restaurant in Ramtown is driven strictly by demographics. If you take a look at the Ramtown area, for choices of food, and we talk about quality of life, we have pizza, or we can have pizza, or we can have subs from Wawa. What we have been proposing is to build a first-class, full-service restaurant. Our designer on this restaurant is Maxie Hayes, which is one of the preeminent designers of restaurants in the state of New Jersey. She just recently completed a project on Hooper Avenue in Brick Township. If you would like to go see a very nice restaurant concept that would be similar to ours, it's Mulligan's, but not the Mulligan's you have in Farmingdale. This is Mulligan's that is on parallel with Charlie Brown's, Chili's, Fridays, Applebee's. This is not, have you been across the street on Hooper Avenue to Mulligan's new location in Dover Township?
I think the Mulligan's on Farmingdale right there is a fine establishment.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
we were talking, and I'm not knocking Mulligan's at all. I like Mulligan's. But I'm saying, if you're looking for a design of a restaurant that appeals to all ages and is family-oriented. But at the end of the day, irregardless of what I desire or what these people desire, this license will either be cited or non-cited based on law. That's going to be, we are in a situation where we are zoned correctly. There is no statutory impediment to this license transfer. There is no local ordinance that would deny it. If we go through the complaints that have been filed, naturally they're saying, not in my neighborhood, take it over to Route 9. But when you take a look at the Route 9 corridor, and if you took a satellite snapshot of Route 9, behind Route 9 is numerous and numerous housing developments.
Some of these 1,000.
Okay. We talk about the shopping centers here being a neighborhood center. It surely is. It is a neighborhood commercial. It was established in the late 80s, and permitted uses were assigned to that center, of which what we're proposing is permitted, one, restaurants, full service or permitted use, retail sales. By virtue of the license that has been issued to our company by the Township of Howell, it clearly states it's a plenary retail consumption license. That's retail sales. When you take a look at the other centers on 9 that have liquor licenses at them, although they are packaged goods stores, but you have your dance schools, you have your karate schools, you have all this. So I don't know what to say. I mean, there is a daycare there, yes, but throughout the state of New Jersey, there are establishments co-located with daycare. Daycares are licensed by the Department of Human Services. They are not schools. A dance school, a karate school. If this was a school, either a public schoolhouse or a private schoolhouse, that fit the definition of the statute in the state of New Jersey, and these private schoolhouses were not operated from profit, then we would have a 200-foot limitation from them, but they're not schools. Behind it, we have another liquor license cited. That's a club license, sitting directly behind the mall. So the concerns that we're talking about, you already have one liquor license, although it is a restricted club license. It does have a bar, a real bar.
About the Elks Club?
The Elks Club.
Yeah.
It's a real bar. We are a restaurant. If you took a look at our model is not going to be 80% alcohol, 20% food. Our business model pretty much correlates with what you have at Applebee's, Chili's. We're looking and projecting off 23% in beverage sales, and the rest would be in food. The food is the driver. We talk about hours of operation. Yes, when it was going to go in the annex, the hour of operation was stated as 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock's pretty much a closing time except on weekends. However, market would dictate what our hours would be. If in fact market dictated that we had a dinner crowd or an after hours crowd, well then we would remain open. But again, there's no restriction on hours of operation of any businesses in that corridor. I mean, Wawa's open 24/7. You have a gym that's open 24/7, 365 days of the year. They're open for business. The only restriction on hours of operation for any business in the Township of Howell are people that have liquor licenses. We are restricted, one, by state, and then further refined by local ordinance. Those hours are set by the town.
These are all good comments. I will ask you to maybe give the cross streets on Hooper Avenue that this other Mulligan's is between, so people who have concerns can actually go there and see it.
You go down Church Road in Hooper, you have Charlie Brown's right on the corner and Mulligan's right to the right.
So
Mr. Dixon,
Church
if I
Road is
may,
the cross one.
I have not visited the new Mulligan's on Hooper, but I did drive by it. It's a beautiful building, by the way. But you cannot compare Newton's Corners Road to Hooper Avenue in Brick.
No, I am not, but I'm saying we will find our answer in law. What currently, as Mr. Gannon has stated, we are zoned correctly. There is no statutory restriction.
You as a business owner, wouldn't you have some concerns that you're setting yourself up to fail as a businessman? Obviously, it's very obvious. It seems that, at least it seems to me that many residents, are against this project. Obviously, they're not going to most likely visit your facility, which means you would have to attract people from outside the general area, which is obviously another concern that those residents have in that area. To bring in the unknown. I wouldn't want to see you fail, you know. I mean, we want these businesses to come into town and succeed and be prosperous, and because you will serve a service to the community, obviously. But I know it's permissible, and the law may say so, but at some point, common sense has to kick in. And common sense tells me, at least right now, from what I've been hearing from residents and knowing the area, that if it doesn't fit, you don't put it there. And again, I'm only one of 5 up here, and I will be open-minded. I would love to see more information about this, and I'd like to see the reports come back from either the planner or the police department as to the history of this type of business, what kind of, so that we have something to go by, so what kind of, to compare calls that they've made over the last several years and so forth. I'd like to see some information before we actually come into conclusion. This is a good dialogue. This is the beginning of hopefully something that will be amicable to everyone involved and hopefully benefit the township. But right now, as it stands, unless you have other remarks, Deputy, I'd like to make a motion that we...
Deputy Mayor, if I could, before a motion's made, I'd like to ask some questions of Mr. Dixon, just so I understand, everybody understands what's proposed here.
Okay.
Before you do, I just want to one more time ask, the cross street is Church Road, the nearest cross street? onto
Church Road and Hooper.
Yeah.
Church.
Short by there.
And it turns into Kettle Creek.
Yeah.
Okay. So Church Road, Kettle Creek, and Hooper Avenue, everybody out there, if you want to go take a look.
Now, the facade, we will not be able to make the facade, although we will have a change on the facade that shrouds our establishment. But the interior design, what you see in Mulligan's, will be fairly close. Be different, totally different. But the same designer that did his is doing this.
Okay. All right, Tom, you're free to,
You need to get closer to the mic, sir, Mr. Dixon's about to tell you.
upstairs where they're recording, they're not picking your voice up.
Scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
In the package that was supplied by the clerk, there's a, looks like a floor plan, and it says new facilities, Quail Creek Shopping Mall. That's no longer where you propose to put your establishment?
Yes, it is going into the Quail Creek Shopping Mall.
Okay, but what I have here is a floor plan by Richard J. Finch Associates.
This is what you're looking at.
Okay.
But this will...
You have to.
Mike.
All right, so we established that this is not where it's going.
The floor plan that you have
We have a floor plan here.
in the application that actually shows seating and layout, that is a rough layout.
Okay, let me ask you some questions then.
Yes.
What's the total square footage of the area that you intend to rent from the owners of the mall?
Approximately 5,000 square foot.
Okay, and and again, this is not the final layout, so there may be
It's
other
not the final layout, no.
All right. And with reference to this document that you supplied and with reference to what you propose, there's an area that's marked packaged goods. You recall that?
That is correct.
And relative to the 5,000 square feet, the packaged good area is how many square feet in this proposal?
Packaged goods will count for approximately 1,100 square foot.
So about 1/5 of the total area?
Correct.
And the bar area, could you give us an estimate on that area and the number of patrons that should be able to sit at the bar?
The bar itself will probably seat somewhere around 24.
And how many tables do you propose or do you anticipate being at the site?
At this time, I don't have an answer for that. I mean, based upon what they come up with, I am targeting 117 to 123 as maximum occupancy.
Maximum occupancy for the entire...
For the restaurant.
For the restaurant?
Yes.
And that does not, is that including the
includes
bar?
Correct.
So 123 patrons at one time?
123 in booths, tables, and waiting at the bar. That would be a maximum capacity. But in reality, code will determine what that capacity will be.
I think, you know, the questions I'm asking obviously is to determine based on your representations for the mayor and council what exactly is going to be the driving or the predominant characteristic of your establishment. Is it in fact, as was indicated in the plans that were submitted, a sports bar / restaurant, or is it truly going to be a restaurant with an accessory use as packaged goods and occasionally folks sitting at the bar waiting to eat or to have a drink prior to eating? I think that's one of the concerns, and that's one of the issues and factual determinations that the mayor and council should have before them before they vote on this.
Correct. I'll have our designer take a better look at that. I'm not going to lock into an affirmative position on what my seating is going to be and what my total bar is going to be at this time. This is what I envision. I envision 24 to 26 at the bar, and the remainder in the seating and booths and tables.
Do you have, or would you be able to supply, within reason and within some flexibility, a final layout?
We've been trying to reduce soft costs associated with this. When we were going into a new facility, we had a wide span, 6,400 square foot, which was going to be in the Quail Creek Annex. That would have handled 200 people. Here we have an existing facility that's going to be made up of 4 separate storefronts. The architect has to take a very hard look at existing plumbing, existing wiring, and we are going to retrofit around as much of that existing space as possible.
What do you anticipate, given the nature of the menu and whatever you intend to serve from a food standpoint, the amount of space that's going to be required for the kitchen area out of that 5,000 square feet?
The kitchen area will encompass approximately 1,000 to 1,200 square foot. That includes prep, storage, and the like.
And how many employees would you estimate would be required to run that kitchen?
To run the kitchen, it will vary from time to time. I mean, if you took it at full loading.
So assuming that you're at your peak and you have to.
We'd have 6 employees in the kitchen if we were fully loaded out.
And can you tell us the nature of the menu that you propose?
The nature of the menu will be very mixed. It will parallel sort of a slimmed-down version of what you would find in normal theme-oriented restaurants. There will be an assortment of steaks. There will be many different types of salads, normal burgers. There may be thin crust pizza at this time, which would be specialty items, full range of appetizers, desserts, coffees, and the like. When we were looking at the 6,400 square foot, we had the space where that design was being discussed for the children's menu, and basically there was going to be an ice cream dessert bar there where the kids could go over there and they could do what they wanted to do and make the mess and stuff like that. The other facility, if we talk about kids also, we were going to have an enclosed game room with plexiglass that as the parents were eating, they could actually see their children if they wanted to be having dessert while their children were in playing video games and stuff like that. They could actually see through the glass panes and watch their children while they were enjoying their dessert and after coffee, whatever.
Mr. Dixon, what's presently, or do you know what the tenants were at the site that you intend occupying?
There was a seafood takeout restaurant with a full kitchen. There was a party store that had a party store, dollar store type place. It had 2 storefronts, and then there was a third storefront that I think was a video arcade.
You've heard for a little bit the concerns expressed by the residents, and do you care to comment with regard to how you would address their concerns or mitigate their concerns if the governing body were to provide or approve this transfer?
Transfer, there's no getting around it. We are in the liquor business. We sell alcoholic beverages. That's what our license entitles us to do. With alcohol, you always run risk. I'm not going to stand up here and say you don't. But the days, let's say, there was questions about the previous establishment that was cited at Quail Creek. That establishment in no way will reflect what we intend to bring there. Andrea Sussman, the owner of the Quail Creek Mall, Parker Partners, Nexus Properties, evicted that tenant for various violations of lease and other concerns that was detrimental to her center. That license ultimately ended up in bankruptcy court. It was purchased by some members of, some residents of Howell, ultimately was cited at the Apollo Diner. Subsequent to that, that license worked its way, and it is now Applebee's license on Route 9. So that's the history of that. When we take a look at the values of liquor licenses, and it's based on demographics, the days of running a bar where you have a chubby, red-faced guy sitting behind the bar loading shots, 2 people, these days are over. They're over.
Line. You go to the line there.
There's just not only in human life that we're talking about, it's financial risk. If you take a look at what happens in communities such as Howell and Freehold and Marlboro and Manalapan, the last 2 liquor licenses that were sold at auction in Freehold Township both fetched over $1 million, sold at auction, and those dollars went into the general fund of the township. A lot of money. But you know what? There was 2 licenses, and you'd think there'd only be 1 bidder, but they were lining up, and the lowest bid was $869,000. Marlboro this summer, 7 1/4. Manalapan, the last consumption license, it occurred in June. It was auctioned off, $750,000, $10.10. Wall Township. Demographics are driving these licenses, and the chains are boosting the values of these licenses. So the days of where we used to be able to acquire a license, open a joint, and really not worry about financial repercussions. This is something that's worth maybe $750,000. It's a piece of paper you can lose in a heartbeat if you're negligent. So I'm not going to do that. I run a very, very tight ship.
All good comments. Tom, you have any more questions?
No, Deputy Mayor.
I want to recap a couple of things, and first of all, the process. You had a question? Tonight, we were considering a resolution, but I will remind the folks out there, and also the applicant here, that this is not the hearing of the applicant. I guess it's at the planning board level right now, too. This is just a resolution for the transfer of the plenary retail alcoholic beverage consumption license.
Well,
So
let me just make a comment. There's a question with regard to whether or not site plan application would be required.
Okay. That's why I want to go over the process. So Tom, actually recap then what the process is. We're considering this license, which I think when I ask later, we're going to table for one more meeting to get some information back. But what is go through the protocol. What's the process?
The process is twofold. Number one, you'd have to, it appears that it's zoned for the use as intended. The question of whether or not a site plan would be required should probably be referred to the zoning department, possibly our planner. Oftentimes, if uses come in to a what's commonly known as a strip mall, there is no requirement for a site plan if it's the use that's approved. Whether or not this might have an impact on parking or that type of thing, that's something that to be determined.
Now that actually addresses the second question I'm about to ask, which is that I heard Kristen, I got your first name right this time. I heard her say that she had no idea that this was going in, and I know we passed the rule last year for applicants when they are going to put something new in places that we have to put up huge signs now where people driving by, in addition to getting the 200-foot letter, notice the letters that go out to people, people see the sign. So in this case, from what I'm understanding you're saying, Tom, is that because it's a permitted use in a building already up,
a pre-existing use,
there wouldn't have to be that sign. So how do we, well, as a takeaway from tonight, we have to come up with a way where it's communicated that something's about to go in, so there aren't people surprised like Kristen was that something's going to go, even though it isn't necessarily a typical applicant where it automatically has to go in. So we'll have to look at, take that as a...
Well, with regard to the license itself, it was published and notices in accordance with the state law. Again, they weren't put in large front pages, but in the legal notices, and the clerk's office monitors that. They do it with all the licenses, and in this particular one, they dotted their I's and crossed their T's and put the application in. That's the license transfer. What you're referring to is the site plan or the use of the building, which may require building permits, et cetera, et cetera. At this point, there may be a zoning certificate that needs to be taken out, and there may or may not be the need for a site plan application before the planning board.
But can we, as a town, have a local ordinance that, in addition to what exists as state ordinances, that says, in the future, not necessarily for this, because it's too late already, but that whenever there's a transfer of a preliminary retail license, that there has to be some board that goes up in the mall that says, hey, there's an establishment about to come here, so people see it.
We'll certainly look at it. We'll look at it in terms of whether or not there's any conflict with state laws.
And that's the last comments that I have. Bob or Juan, do you have other? I'll look to you first, Bob. No, Juan?
Just a quick comment, and it's maybe not that significant, but Mr. Dixon stated that he may, in his menu, that possibility of having some thin crust pizza, my favorite, and perhaps an ice cream station. I don't know that we should be concerned with that, but it's worth mentioning that I think that's going to have a very negative impact on the local businesses there that exist there now. There's a local pizzeria there that may suffer because of it. There's an ice cream parlor, which I believe Deputy Mayor just cut the ribbon over the last week or so.
That's right, 2 weeks ago.
And that place has been struggling as it is. They've had several owners over the last several years. So they're trying to make it, and I think that this would maybe have a negative impact on them as well. Also, there is a senior citizen development that we were forced to adopt in Ward Township that is going to become actually now part of Howell. That there is an access road being built there that's going to actually end up within probably 300 feet from that shopping plaza. So there will be many, many seniors driving down Newton's Corners Road. So I'm very, very concerned about the drunk driving, obviously anywhere in the township, but particularly there in the residential area. I just wanted to add those comments to the record.
So I will ask one last time. I'll let you come up one last time, and then we'll close the hearing of the public. I can't close it down if people have to speak.
Stop me.
I can't stop a hearing of... Oh, you know what?
See you a little bit, Bob.
We have to stop. We only have 3 people as quorum, so we have to stop until Bob comes back.
Take a couple minutes break.
We'll take a 5-minute
We need a
recess.
quorum here, that's why.
Now I know what he's asking about. All right, so we'll take a 5-minute recess, but then when we come back, you'll have your opportunity to speak again. Well, the audience members, please take their seats. Please take their seats.
We should ask for motion to do something. Like a homing pigeon.
We'll bring that up in her review. One cookie.
All right, folks, if you have sidebar, please take those conversations outside if you have them right now. Let's continue with the meeting. It's now 10:10. We were in the middle of the hearing of the citizens on this resolution. Mr. Dixon wanted to come back up and make one final comment.
I just talked to Juan about this, but...
Speak into that mic real quick.
There was concern about the other businesses operating and the impact that we would have. We're a full-service restaurant. We're not takeout. These issues were all resolved with all the tenants of...
Hold on, Mr. Dixon.
Can you...
Can you close that door?
Can you close that door? Thank you.
Okay, continue.
Over a year ago, when we were putting the leases in place for Sovereign Bank and us to take that building, we went to each, the mall, Nexus Properties, went to each of the existing tenants, and they reviewed their exclusionary clauses within each one of their leases. It was identified that we were coming in. This was our menu. It was worked out with all of them. The people when the bagels were concerned. We said, yes, we will have bagels, but our bagels will be part of a Sunday brunch. It's not an item you're going to come in and grab a bag of them, or you're going to get a sandwich to go. Ice cream, the same thing. We would serve it as a dessert item on a menu of a full-service restaurant, but it definitely would not be our primary focus. with Corsi's and Four Brothers. We discussed that we would probably have bar pies, which would be thin crust, done on Impinger ovens, totally different product than what he has. But on the same token, we agreed that we would not provide that as a delivery or takeout item either. So it really should not affect that business, and we did discuss this with every vendor and purveyor of food that is located in that plaza.
Appreciate your comment.
Okay.
Is there anybody that has not spoken on this that would wish? Well,
Go ahead, you haven't spoken.
You haven't spoken, come on up.
On this?
Yeah.
Yes.
A Moment Store, right?
We're still in the...
Moment Store, Mr. Maggot.
Bob. We're still in the hearing on this one thing, yes.
Yeah. Don't patronize me.
I'm not.
For Alzheimer's yet. This item. Abe Maggot, 89 Mariners Code.
Hello, Abe.
Hello. Salute. Okay, I heard some figures. Mr. Gannon said, how big is the place? He said, 5,000 square feet. Okay. And then he said, how big is the packaged liquor? 1,100 square feet, 20%. Wait a minute. That's pretty big for a family restaurant, right? You come in, little children from Ramtown, hello, hello, hello. Packaged liquor means, to my mind, people are coming in and say, they're not even sitting there. Oh, yeah, give me a schnapps here, I'll take this home. Yeah, home, right? Traffic. If it's such a family-oriented place, as was pointed out, gee, he's really not going to do that much business. Maybe he will, but packaged liquor, you know, except for holidays. I understand. It's a very special thing, you know, for certain holidays. Okay. It just seems to me there's going to be a lot of, it'll be known, packaged liquor store, outside traffic. People are going to come in. They're not going to stay. They're not going to drink. They buy their liquor, and they leave. It's not the greatest sight for a family kind of thing, sitting around with 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds. Now, I know it can be screened off, because if you go to Chili's, there's little kids there too, I know that. And I know that there's a bar where you come in, you see it, but then you can walk on the side. However, as was pointed out, yes, there are houses behind Route 9 in the community, but it's not like in your face. It seems to me in Ramtown, that's a real community thing, and it's not along Route 9 where Chili's is, you know, in Freehold and so on. Those are my thoughts. It just doesn't seem, it's an oil and water situation to me, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else who's not spoken on this who would like to make a comment? Please come on up. When you come to the mic, state your name and address and give your concise comment.
Paul Pogrebnik, 28 Higgins Court. That was
Paul.
my wife, Kristen, speaking before.
There you go.
I felt I should get up here. I know if we had 200 people come up here and speak it, maybe make a little more of a difference, but I heard Mr. Gannon's points getting from the prospective business that it's going to be mostly packaged goods with 1/5 of the property dedicated to it and the bar. So my concerns are, as pointed out, children and traffic, and they do walk from their cars to go to these other establishments, pediatricians, dance school, karate, and it's family. And it's all about traffic and family and quality of life. And that's all I really want to say. Hopefully
Thank
next
you,
time we'll
Paul.
get more people in here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else that want? Pauline, please come on up.
Pauline Smith, Vanderveer Road. I've been sitting here listening, and it dawned on me. Over the last 20 years, I have observed, and for a couple of years, I participated in, I had to vote on such things as change of licenses of of both kinds. There are only two, package and plenary retail. And also the developing of ordinances when demographics proved that we could have another license to sell. I have never seen anybody given the hard time. I don't know this man from Adam. I'm not a drinker. Occasional glass of wine for celebration for Christmas or somebody's birthday. So I don't go to a bar. I've never been to a bar in my life. If the restaurant has a bar attached, okay. So, I mean, I would just assume there never be another bar in this world. But fair is fair, and the laws are the laws. And I've never seen any other individual given the hassle on a change of license, liquor license, anywhere in this township. I mean, Scooters, what used to be the edge of town now is Adelphia 72, Our House Tavern. I don't know how many there are now, and they keep wanting more. Applebee's. Somebody was screaming for Fridays. I don't go to places like that. I go to a good restaurant like Our House Tavern. Or I cook at home. My only point is why this instance, and never before have I seen anything like that. It's just the normal research. It's governed. It's by the state of New Jersey. That's where the control is, and that's whoever has to answer to, not us. It's one of those things like body shops and things to do with oils and things like petroleum products. That's out of our hands. There's state agencies that oversee that. So,
good comment.
My issue really is the location. Okay, and I'm not, and I haven't made no judgment on right, wrong, or indifferent here, but I have deep concerns. I'm down that area often. I have friends down there. I see numerous children over there in that shopping center unattended. Okay, and it does concern me, that's all. I want to see more information from Chuck Newcomb, our planner.
And that's fine.
More information from the police department.
You're being responsible, and I don't have a problem with that. But a lot of other places are also the same, and we don't know. We don't always have that control. That's my point.
Thank you.
And there's a lot that I'm concerned with. Every time anybody gets behind the wheel, whether they're drinking or not, I'm scared to death. I lost a son, a mother, and a brother, and nobody was drinking involved in those. We take our life into our hands. I always tell new drivers, do you realize that you're propelling a weapon? There's so many concerns in this world, and I'm glad to see that you all have the compassion and caring about these things, but I'm just questioning whether there's anything that can be done about it for those reasons.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that,
Deputy Mayor, if I can just address Mrs. Smith from the protocol standpoint, maybe she hasn't seen the hearings in the past, but because there was an objection filed with the clerk's office, that's what caused us to have the public hearing under state law.
Oh, I understand.
So if there was no objection, there probably would not have been the hearing.
come to the mic if you're going to get...
Well, I'm saying we're bound to have this hearing, it's not, we're doing ad hoc, okay.
I understand that. That's not what I was questioning.
Okay.
I see, you understand this is on the, okay.
He's awake now.
You're awake now, okay.
I got my sleep, I'm awake now.
All right, so say your name and address again, John.
John
Comment on
Constable,
this.
214 Birdsall Road. Thank you for
John.
letting me speak this time. I'll make it short and sweet. That Ramtown Greenville Road's rough. Newton's Corner Road is rough. I don't know, this is not Dover Township, nor is it Brick Township. And to be honest with you, I never go there if I can stay away from it because the traffic's horrible. You can't go anyplace. And I don't know why we would want to put this kind of a heavier use into that area. You have a nice shopping center there. There's a liquor store on the other side of Wawa, right on the other side of the road there, Ramtown Greenville Road. That curve going down, that heavy curve is rough for anybody that's had a little bit too much to drink. And so I don't like it there, and I thank you.
You're welcome. Once again, is there anybody else desiring to be heard for the first time on this? Okay, well then I will close the hearing of the citizens on this particular resolution. Chuck Newcomb, I see, there you are. What I would like for you to do is to come up and do a quick recap on the zoning, the pros and cons with regards to municipal land use law, and as to whether or not you think there does need to be a application.
going to be very frank and upfront with you. If it was a new building, it would require site plan as it was previously submitted. It is part of an existing building, and the township does not have a requirement for a minor site plan submission in terms of a change of use, as other municipalities in the state, not every municipality, but some municipalities have. So in essence, what this applicant would be required to do under the municipal land use law would be to obtain from the zoning officer his approval or a zoning permit in terms of clarifying the use, whether it is permitted or not, and then once he obtains that zoning permit, he can file for a building, construction or a building permit, and do whatever improvements need to take place within the building. And then upon inspection by the, code officials, a certificate of occupancy would be issued.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Gentlemen, I'll ask for some final remarks, and then what you desire as to do as a motion, whether it's to, approve, say no, to delay till next time, like we talked about earlier.
I'll just make a final comment, if I may, very quickly, and I know it's getting late. It would be irresponsible for me not to bring these issues in front of the council. Issues that were raised by many, many residents to me personally. I have an obligation and a responsibility as a council person to bring them up and bring them forth. Not intended to give the applicant a hard time at all. I think that he came up and he was a gentleman. He answered every question that we threw at him. And we have to wait and see what the outcome is going to be. But I just feel obligated to bring in these concerns here. So I'm not trying to give you, sir, or anybody a hard time. On the contrary, it would be responsible for me not to do so. That being said, unless Mr. Walsh or Deputy, you have any other remarks, I'd like to make a motion that...
Well, hold on for just a second. So, Bob, do you have any other remarks?
I would just like to see some more information. That's all. I'd like to see what the police report, get a report from them on, there was a bar at this location years ago. I'd like to see what they have to say about it. Any other information that Mr. Newcomb could give us?
Very good.
And then go from there.
All right, so Juan, if you want to make a motion, you're certainly entitled to carry it.
I do want to make a motion, and before I make that motion, I wish that the applicant would reconsider and put this restaurant that we may need in that area without the liquor. I wish he would reconsider and do so. That being said, Deputy, I'd like to make a motion that we carry this resolution until we obtain further information from, not just from the planner, but also from the police department as to what impact this will have in the community, a business of this magnitude.
All right, so Bob, we have a motion by Juan to carry Resolution 06407 to the regular session, which is 2 weeks from now.
I'll second it.
Any other remarks? All right, Penny, call the roll. It's a motion to carry until October 17.
Mr. Malave?
Yes.
Mr. Tabasco?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Okay, I now need, unless there's other reasons to stay in regular, I'll now need a motion to close regular session. Is there any reasons from any of the professionals that we need to stay in regular?
No, sir.
All right, so I need to entertain a motion from one of you two to close regular session.
Make a motion to close regular session.
Need a second?
Second.
Penny, please call the roll.
Mr. Malave?
Yes.
Mr. Tabasco?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
We're on to the discussion items. I will tell the public out there that 10.3 and 10.4 have been taken off for another night. We do have a discussion on the land conservation open space parts to the master plan, also discussions on SED 1 and 2 and residential district 1. You see that there's an in-focus projector over here, or some kind of projector actually, where Chuck Newcomb, our township planner, is going to open up this discussion by doing a presentation for us. So everybody please get comfortable, and as soon as Juan sits back down, Chuck, I'll let you continue.
Okay, thank you.
Chuck, here, before you start. One, you're going to need to bring a microphone up towards you.
You have
Second,
the handheld, or?
well, that works fine if you can just put it right on a podium.
You might need to turn the bottom on, turn the bottom switch on.
The second thing, Deputy Mayor, I'd like to point out is, last time Mr. Newcomb was here, I indicated that the plan was to introduce 3 ordinances the ordinances themselves, while we then received a presentation on the next set of ordinances to implement the master plan. As you can see from your agenda, the plan now is to introduce those original sets at the next regular meeting of the council.
And what Tom is referring to is 9A1, A2, A3, all are set, and A4 actually are all set to be introduced on the regular session, October 17.
Right, I had indicated that.
All the way through 9A7. 9A1 through 9A7 will be introduced at the next meeting, next regular meeting.
Right, now, I had, assuming council is okay with this next set of ordinances that are being proposed. But I just wanted to acknowledge that I had indicated they would be for introduction tonight, but they were not ready, given some other pressing planning matters that came up.
All right. With that said, you're off.
Okay, thank you. To implement the master plan or the land use element that the planning board developed and adopted this past April, there were 3 specific issues that were raised by the board and primarily are going to be addressed tonight, involving the land conservation and open space zone, the creation of an R1 zone, and the dividing of the SED zone into 2 separate zones. First one I'll address is the SED zone. One of the recommendations of the board was the elimination of the permitted use of manufacturing stone, glass, clay, and concrete products in the 6 SED zones. During the public hearings, testimony was provided from the operators in the Yellowbrook Road area, SED area. There also was identified in testimony that the Board of Adjustment was receiving a number of cases involving multi-tenanted structures in the SED zone, not able to meet the structure size requirement of 40,000 square feet. The board made a couple of decisions. One was to create an SED1 zone, where it eliminated the manufacturer permitted uses of manufacturing stone, glass, clay, and concrete products. The creation of an SED2 zone, where in essence the permitted use would be retained of manufacturing stone, glass, clay, and concrete products. And then also reducing the building size from 40,000 square foot to 20,000 square foot, but retaining the minimum inside square footage of the individual units at 5,000 square feet. So that was the SED recommendation. This is a map that basically shows the SED areas.
You have to, hey Chuck, you're still going to have to stay at the mic.
Yeah.
So,
the 5 in red basically being the SED1 zone, and then the one in yellow being the one up on Yellowbrook Road, being the SED2 zone.
What streets are they, Chuck? The top left one, where is that?
The top left one is on Route 33, basically, and the railroad extending out of Freehold Township. It's the one the planning boards had some discussions about just recently, and extends down on Fairfield Road. The next one coming towards
East.
Wall Township going east, the one in yellow, is primarily around Yellowbrook Road and the railroad. Then you have to the north up on Route 33, coming down on Asbury Road, which is the existing one around Collingswood Flea Market, or coming down Asbury Road, rather. You have, or Tinton Falls Road, you have that small one, and then you have the one outside of Farmingdale, which would be SED1 along 547. And then you have, going south, you have the one on where the New Jersey Natural Gas is, in Oak Glen Road. And then you have the one further south, which is basically on the river, between the river and Randolph Road, which is, again, would be SED1.
Does FEL fall in that middle one, Chuck?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Where does FEL fall, in that middle one?
It falls into one, basically, just south of Farmingdale, the white area. So that would be SED1 also.
And what's going to be permitted in there?
Well, the item that we're recommending is that all the permitted uses that are presently in the SED zone, except for the manufacture of stone, glass, clay, and concrete products.
And what are those permitted uses, Chuck?
You want them rattled off? They're basically light industrial uses, non-commercial, warehousing, distribution, things of that nature.
No residential there.
No residential.
Okay.
No, that's not.
Thank you for rattling them off.
And it also, in terms of the growth share ordinance our colored growth share ordinance, the SED zones are required to submit or pay development fees versus growth share. So, that's just another highlight of that. The next change is the planning board felt that the ARE1 districts were not achieving the objectives of the ARE districts. In terms of preservation of rural and agricultural uses and the preservation of rural character. The board simply is recommending the renaming of the existing ARE1 districts to R1, which maintaining the existing bulk requirements that are presently in place for the district. Those areas impacted are primarily areas that are presently in AR1, would be just simply R1. The next recommendation is the land conservation and open space zone. And the planning board, I think, recognized that there's a significant amount of open space either owned by the state, county, or the municipality, and that were in what I would call residential zones. A lot of them, for example, the Manasquan River Reservoir was in an AER 6 zone. Other areas were in other different zones. And that it felt as if it should recommended that the land use plan be amended and that all state, county, and municipal open space be part of the zone land conservation and open space, which then would take a significant portion of the township and put it in what it is, basically land that is under conservation and it is also under open space. They primarily are the green areas that are shown on this map. The board also recognized that if you look at the permitted uses under land conservation and open space, they are all totally passive. And in terms of the recommendation that we've made in incorporating all the other municipal and county-owned land primarily and into that category, there would be a need to amend the purposes of the zone to allow primarily recreational, active recreation, and it also was felt that the permitted uses and the accessory uses, would need to include certain existing uses that are found within those zones. For example, Howell Golf Course, allow for golf courses, new uses such as fields for sporting events, and accessory uses, such as restrooms and things of that nature to be permitted also. So that is primarily it in terms of those changes.
Appreciate it. So what Chuck just was speaking to, if for people having the agendas out there, were known as 9A5, 9A6, and 9A7. Again, they will be introduced on October 17, and there will be a public hearing for adoption of these recommendations on November 28th, the week after the Thanksgiving week. All right, so we'll discuss these thoroughly, I'm sure, especially in November, but we can actually have some good discussion on it also beginning next month, at the regular meeting at the end of this month, I mean. Tom, do you have any follow-up comments? Tom Czerniecki on what Chuck just presented?
No, sir. Mr. C.
No? Okay. The next item up for discussion, 10A2, let me turn to that right now, has to do with regulations for ATVs and off-road vehicles. There were some recommendations presented by our esteemed police officers. Who wants to kick this one off? Tom, you want to start this off?
Deputy Mayor, just to introduce the subject, we currently have some regulations governing the use of ATVs, and it centers around the issue of trespassing. Unfortunately, we don't have any fines associated with violating that. So when we pull people off for trespassing with ATVs, we don't have anything to cite them with in terms of a penalty or a fee. So the police department is recommending that we establish one.
Well, that makes perfectly good common sense. I don't know how else you can discuss that. What else is there to say?
Right.
So what do they want us, they want us to put together an ordinance and then introduce and adopt it at some point?
Correct.
How does that tie into like other off-road vehicles like mini bikes and, I know we have one section 198, whatever.
It speaks to all of them. The use of any vehicles on property were not authorized.
So whether it be trespassing on public property, what about on private property, be the same thing?
Yes.
Do Bob or Juan have any comments to make other than what Tom just said?
I actually called the other day and spoke to Deputy Manager Schlegel, because I had a landowner say to me they were very concerned that people were riding them on their property. And they really, what could they do about it? Somebody get hurt real bad on private property driving one, they're worried whether or not they were liable, what would happen?
They should call the police immediately.
I believe they called the police numerous times and they've gotten them off, but they end up back on there.
On their own property.
It's on private property, absolutely. That's why they asked me for a copy of the ordinance they were advised by their insurance company to make copies of the ordinance and post it around the property. So that's what they did. The gentleman's gonna put it on 40, 50 different spots.
They're not presently posted?
He's posted not to do it, but he's also gonna post the ordinance.
Okay.
Made copies of it. He was just concerned. So I'm glad we're bringing this up now. I think it's becoming more and more of a situation that needs to be dealt with.
It would allow us to impose a $1,000 fine, of not more than $1,000.
And that's reasonable and customary, Tom Gannon?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I would just ask that you folks do your due diligence and come back to us with something that makes sense, and then we'll introduce it, have discussion on it, and
okay.
After hearing the citizens also adopt it.
I don't know the specific case, but if there is a citizen, they should insist that charges be filed, or they file charges themselves. But now that we'll have a fine in place, that'll put a lot of teeth behind that.
Okay. I'll let them know. I'll punt them over to you, too.
All right.
Mr. C.
All right, that ends the discussion items, and next will be the hearing of citizens. I'll just go through the protocol one more time. We're going to have an hour for this. I don't have that many actually on the list tonight. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people.
We have a couple more things, excuse me, we have a couple more things to discuss?
No, they were taken off. 10-3 and 10-4 taken off for next meeting.
They were?
Yes.
Okay, I was asleep then.
That's okay. The latest of the hour.
I was joining John Costigan.
All right, so again, when you come on up, try to be concise, stick within 5 minutes, hopefully. If you have backup information that you want to support what you're speaking about, present it to our professionals on the side, and they will get it within all our packets. First of all, come up and state your name and address, what you wanted to speak about, and then what you would like the council or other professionals to do about it, too. So with that, I will continue with the protocol of the last several months, which is if I recognize anybody on here as having not spoken before, they will go first. However, I will tell you there's nobody on this list that has not spoken before, so we will go right in order of the way it's signed up. And Abe, you are number 1.
Can I say something?
Hold on just 1 second. Go ahead, Bob.
I like this. My wife had to leave the state so I have children home alone. Okay, I came here tonight so we could have a quorum and have a meeting. But I'm not staying here till 1 o'clock at night. I'm telling you now. Okay? My family has to come first. So I have an autistic son at home. I will not be here till 1 o'clock in the morning. I'll let you know that.
I think
Okay.
after what happened last meeting, people did start policing themselves a little bit on their own, which is great. So if Bobby leaves, the meeting's over because we don't have a quorum, just so you know. So, Abe, you're first.
This is Abe Maggard, 89 Mariners Cove.
Hello, Abe.
Hi.
What is it you want to talk about, and what do you want us to do?
You know in a moment. In the September 19th meeting, when I spoke, in fact, you, Peter Tabasco, the deputy mayor, said, look, anything you want to find out in the interest of time, don't keep talking to us. That's why we have a manager. And you said this, tell him what you have in mind, and he will advise the mayor and the council of those items, saving a lot of time.
Exactly right. You don't have to wait for a council meeting, that's correct.
I know I'm right. I took that under advice after I left the letter here September 19th. I immediately proceeded, 2 days later, September 21st, and I gave a letter to our manager, Thomas Zanecki, with the understanding that you would be provided with that information. The council people, September 21st, and the mayor. I have no idea whether you have, but I'll go on, in the interest of time. Now, in that letter to the manager, I voiced my very deep concerns, which is, as I think I mentioned to you, or you should see it in this letter, that this detention basin is in Howell Township, has passed preliminary and final approval, and only awaits for a resolution. And the agreement is totally between Field Township and the developer. We're out of it. And I'm very concerned about that, as I pointed out. Not that day. In fact, when I went to see that day the manager, we didn't Kazatska too well together, so I left. And he called me back later. Said something that maybe makes it that we can get along more reasonably. In fact, he said to me, well, you know, it was all discussed at the town council meeting when I gave him the 21st. Now, knowing that the planning board is supposed to give the resolution on Thursday the 5th, possibly they will, possibly they won't. That seems to be a little iffy right now from what I found out in the last moment. But as it stands now, as far as I know, in fact, I asked we spoke today, Tom Zaneski and I, because I then left a letter to him on the Monday, October the 2nd, where I went into much greater detail of my concern, which I also left, and there was a notarized letter, by the way, and notarized also to the mayor, and also to Barbara Calderon. I'm sorry.
Capitan?
Capitan. We're working together so much. Now, here's what it comes down to. In the interest of time, so you can go home, and I agree. Okay. It seems to me, I'm going to say, the lights are on and nobody's home. Because when I spoke today to Mr. Zanicki, one, he did not know at all where this agreement was, in any way, shape, or form. Remember, we're going 2 more days where a resolution will be passed. Had no idea. None. I've called, I spoke to Sue, who was talking for Barbara. We'll leave it at Barbara. And, well, Barbara was out today. She'll be in tomorrow. And she didn't know where it was. She said, possibly Ron Cucciari might have it, but she had no idea. There's a total lack of information here And yet you recommended that I go to the manager and find these things out. And I did. And I followed very faithfully. And I have a very detailed letter of all my concerns, which I won't take up your time now. But I want to tell you something. Something's very wrong here. When I go to the manager and talk to him, he called me today, and I was concerned about the planning board, and he said, he has nothing to do with the planning board. I was aghast. Where are the lines of communication here? Especially with a resolution coming up. And in fact, the manager told me, well, as far as the resolution, it was what was discussed already at the September 14th meeting of the planning board. Well, nothing was discussed except given the approvals with a resolution to come, and in some way they said they'd raise the height and double it and so on. I wanted all kinds of information, of which I've had none whatsoever. And Peter Tabasco, you acted as mayor because the mayor wasn't here as deputy mayor, and you told me the procedure, and I followed it, as they say, religiously. And as of this moment, I don't know a thing. And not only that, we're not that much in great rapport anymore, which I wish we were, because I was told, and this is what galled me, that only after a township has passed the resolution do they get around to talking about agreements and so on. Well, as I said, that would be fine if it were in our township. If this were in Howell, but it's not. We're in the dark. And I've had a lot of experience of seeing how much Freehold doesn't care. I made a point, a very strong point, to the manager. I said, maybe not today, maybe not next year, maybe 3-5 years from now. By the way, the monies, I was found out, is returned after 3 years. So, of course, Freehold Township would have to pick up the bill beyond that. Let's say the 6th year, the 7th year, perpetuity. I raised the point. Suppose our engineer in Howell Township found it was necessary, especially with a burn. Remember, if they had put this in the ground, we wouldn't be talking about a burn which can erode with heavy rains over a period of many years. Suppose our engineer said, hey, you know, needs maintenance. What do you know? It's going to cost Freehold Township money. They might decide, no, it's not a good idea. Not yet. Manager said, then we go to court. Well, thank you very much. We go to court. This is of great concern that I have no idea in years to come, 6, 7, 8 years from now, of what is going to happen to the residents of Mariners Cove, because the manager said to me, no, we passed the resolution, whatever was said there, and then we find out. As I said, it's like the lights are on nobody's home. You sent me to the manager. I ran into a solid wall of no information. I got a lot of lectures from him as to how, you know, erudite and correct he is and things like that. I have no information. What do I want to know? I wanted to know, for example, a simple little thing. Has Ernie Peters yet, the attorney for the planning board, gotten the specifications from them so that when they say they double the volume, no, Reagan, trust but verify. He gets the information, and I want to know it, and I have a right to know it, and I've requested a number of times.
You've raised a lot of good questions.
Well, yeah. Well, one thing, I've raised good questions, but I want to say, don't send me back to the manager for the answers, because I'm not getting them.
Well, I understand your passion, and you have every right to...
You understand my concern. Forget my passion.
Well, whatever you want to call it.
No, I'm calling it concern, specifically concern.
Okay.
In 2 days from now... Wait a minute. In 2 days from now, the planning board, without any information, is going to pass a resolution that makes everything after that useless. Now, one more thing. I said it in here. I hold all these township officials that are involved responsible in the future for inactions of information that's taking place now. Now I'll listen to you.
You raised a lot of good questions, and I'll take them one at a time, but let me go for 2 minutes, then you can rebut. And Tom, I'll go first, and you can take over. And Tom Gannon, you can, on the land use part of it, add on to what I'm about to say. You actually did get some correct information from Tom Chernyetsky, just so you understand the process. When there is an approval given, it still has to be memorialized at the planning board level with a resolution. So from what I'm understanding, from what you're telling me, is that this is to take place on Thursday night. Once that resolution does memorialize all the actions of what took place during that application, all that information becomes open public records, and you can get everything, anything that you want. Until it is memorialized, it's still not something that you can grab. That's what I'll tell you first. So if he told you we have to wait a few days, he's actually correct. We don't have the jurisdiction to go give you something that's still private technically until it is memorialized and released to be public. Now, from what you're telling me, there was a preliminary and final given. So in order to get that, the planning board had to go through the hearing where there was an opportunity for citizens to be heard, and there was an opportunity for professionals to give their opinions. So when you mention Ernie Peters' name as to whether or not he got information from wherever you had to get it from, I'm assuming, because he is a professional, that he got enough information to give his blessings and presented that in evidence to the planning board for them to make a policy decision that they were going to go ahead and approve this application. The last thing I'll talk about, you talked about maintenance to be done on the basin at a later date. Now, I know there's performance bonds that are maintained. The basin, I think, from what I recall you speaking about 2 weeks ago and earlier, and also Marie Calderon had spoken about, does belong to Howell Township as far as it's not in Freehold Township property. So you're right, they probably will not have a long-term concern for that basin, but I think we will. So I will then toss this over to Bill, who I know was on this for a while, to see what he can tell me about the potential longevity from an engineering perspective, how we're going to maintain that basin, and then we'll let Tom chime in. So Bill, what do you know, and what can you add about maintaining the basin at a later date? They're worried about it eroding and not performing later.
Well, first of all, the basin itself is located in Howell, and it will be, as the testimony indicated, will be maintained by Freehold Township. Typically, that's done via a developer's agreement or a basin agreement. Typically, there's a contribution made. Freehold may have a different calculation than we do. We have modified or amended our basin calculations to include, the stormwater management facilities, the drainage, piping, et cetera, et cetera. But typically, most municipalities or all municipalities have this type of process. So from a maintenance standpoint, again, there would be an agreement between the municipality, in this case Freehold, who is going to maintain it, and the applicant in this case. So that's how that'll be addressed.
So for the residents of Moore's Landing and Point of Woods and some of the other communities that are around here, plus some of the single-family homes right on the river there, let's say it doesn't perform 8 years from now. What recourse do we have? How do we enforce them to maintain it if they decide not to because they're not interested in spending money?
Well, again, as far as the sides eroding, typically there's an emergency spillway, and it's typically reinforced. It's a stone spillway, and it's created as the area that would be exceeded if it were to overflow. So that is, I'm not going to say it's designed as a weak link, but typically if a basin were to overflow, it would overflow in a predetermined, pre-designed area.
So once it does overflow, if it would ever do that, then how do they remedy that where we can enforce that they make it right?
Well, not to say it hasn't happened in the past. We have had basins that have, for whatever reason, they weren't maintained, and an orifice was clogged or a trash rack was clogged, and it did overtop in a storm. You would have to actually go out and reconstruct it. And, periodically inspections are performed to ensure that these things don't happen.
Now, in this agreement we have with Freehold Township, will we be asking them to reconstruct it, or are we going to be reconstructing it?
Well, again, that's something that's normally put into the verbiage of the actual agreement. And
that verbiage would be in the documentation once it's released?
Just if I can step back just a second. The agreement, the developer's agreement, is the last step in the process. So once the planning boards give their final approvals and the resolutions are adopted, the applicant goes and gets his state, county, all other permits and applications. Once the applicant's ready to go, he then goes to the municipality, in this case Freehold, and enters into a developer's agreement with that governing body. That's why...
so that agreement has not actually happened?
That agreement doesn't even exist yet.
Okay.
However, I did speak with the administrator in Freehold today, and we set up a line of communication about this issue, and he indicated to me that he would get us that agreement before it's adopted, once it's prepared by Freehold for us to review.
But isn't the resolution being passed Thursday by our planning board?
Right.
But that just memorializes what we did.
Right, that's the planning board resolution, but the developer's agreement where the basins, the roads, the pipes are transferred to a municipality, that's the very last step. That's when the bonds are reviewed and all that. That happens at the very end of the process.
So, Abe, I do understand your frustration, but some of the things you're
No,
asking
you
about
missed my
haven't
point. I was listening closely. Now, let me just say something.
Mr. Mayor, can I say, I'd like to ask something, so I'm a little clearer.
Right, yeah.
All right, then. There are also other concerns with the Army Corps of Engineers that have worked over there on
Burgerville Road.
on Burgerville Road, and there was supposed to be feedback. I went to the hearings with the planning board. Has anything come back on that to you now, Tom?
Mr. Peters is still in the process of reviewing the basin, and he's looking at the information associated with what the Army Corps of Engineers is doing there. And at this point, the resolution isn't listed on the agenda for the planning board for Thursday night because that work isn't yet complete.
It's not on the agenda for Thursday night.
Right.
Because it sure sounds like, Freehold's getting the gold mine, we're getting the shaft here. Okay, it really does. And all we're getting is the waste. Okay? I don't know if that's in the best interest of the citizens of Howell Township. Somebody tell me why it is. I don't know. Or maybe it has to be that way. Tell me it has to be that way. And well, I don't need. I'm sorry, but I need professionals to tell me that it has to be that way. It just doesn't sound right.
I'm not sure if I understand what you're at. Just so I understand, if municipal land use law, if an applicant comes and owns the property and wants to do what they want to do, and they fit the zone, they can do what they did, which is split it between two communities. If that's what you're asking, I'm not sure what
It
you're...
has to be, tell me it has to be.
This is the real frustration, and it's a frustration for us at the staff too, that because the residents are coming to the council, but that jurisdiction, what you're speaking of, is established by the planning board. The project was filed with the planning board, and they took jurisdiction of it. If you remember, we fielded complaints that the township wasn't hearing this, that the township wasn't getting this application at all, and we insisted that it go to the planning board. And, that was that's what we did.
I mean, I heard Mr. Curry ask, if I'm mistaken, please correct me, Mr. Curry, at the planning board meeting, take one of the houses off a lot and put the basin there. Did you not ask that, sir?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and put it in Freehold.
But they don't have to. That
Well,
can be
but
requested.
I thought Mr. Curry was looking out for the citizens of Howell.
It was.
Right.
Okay, and, it was nice to see.
All right. I want to make a comment on what was said here because...
Well, were you done, Bob?
I'm okay for now.
Okay, all right. No, look, I've heard talk here about the detention basin. And I'm not just talking about that basin at all. Because the planning board allowed this developer, instead of making it twice the size and the length so it's in ground, we now have, to the height he raises it, a burn to hold it in place. I'm not talking about stuffed pipes, which can happen in a detention basin. I'm saying year after year, whatever is the material in that burn at an angle is going to have to erode, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, I don't care, perpetuity. Now, if that burn erodes and is not, it should have preventive maintenance in that case because it's not the basin like in the ground. If that burn erodes and people start to hold back, we are not talking about just overflow in a natural way where it fills up after so many days of a 100-year storm. We're talking about a lot more serious thing. And if that burn erodes and we don't have the say-so, and the manager said, yes, we can send them a police thing to have to perform. If their engineer says no, and let me tell you, with their tax money on the line, they easily might, we're in their pocket something awful because we didn't do the right thing in 2 steps. One, we over here in Howell should have said to the developer, you make that agreement with us. You deed that land to us in Howell. We will take care of repairs Freehold, you're out of it. That's one. Two, if we were not doing that, we certainly should have insisted that there not be that burn and that thing be linearly in the ground. So on two faults, we lay down badly. Now, I was told by the manager, well, you know, in a way, it may be better they have it because they'll have to go to their taxpayers and get money. We go, for a thing like that, we go to our taxpayers for the safety of the people. The people on this council were voted by the Howell Township people to protect us. And you, Mr. Tabasco, said you have confidence in the planning board because we appointed them. Well, where did they do the right thing? Where didn't they step up to the plate and say, we want it in the ground? And if Jerry or the legal people said, no, we don't have to do it, there's no chance of a snowball in hell if that went to court, that a judge wouldn't say, wait a minute, yeah, you can do it legally. Very unique situation with the Oxbow thing, with the flooding in the past, you're not going to add to it. And by the way, we didn't get much help at all from the attorney for the planning board when I read that, Ernie Peters, I read in the transcript that he was saying the same thing that Jerry Sonnenbluck was saying. Well, it only adds a little bit because there's a lot to start with. Yeah, that's how you sink a boat. It's not so good, you pour in a little more water at a certain time. I want to know from you tonight, so I don't have to go back to the manager. If it's been delayed, and I heard it might be to the 19th, but I wasn't sure of anything here, I want to know, and I'll start giving letters directly to, I'm not going to the manager, to you people. I'm going to wind it up. I want you to step up to the plate and talk to whether you're the manager or the planning board before the 19th. If it's the 4th, the 5th, this is a very bad deal. But if it's not, I expect this town council immediately to move into it. And I'm not going through the manager anymore because I went through them with 3 letters and it's absolutely nothing. And I sent a notarized letter to the mayor, to Barbara Calderon, and to him. I'll send notarized letters to every member of this town council, because in those letters it says, in the future, if these actions are taken ineptly, not correct, as proven later, then Howell Township becomes responsible. I'm done.
Thank you, sir.
Pauline, you're next.
Pauline Smith, Vanderveer Road. As usual, I am cutting out most of what I came up for because other things have come up that I think are important. This particular issue, don't forget, it's freehold development. Supposedly Freehold Township is going to take care of it, but it's our people and our property that are getting dumped on and can be completely ruined. So, please do what you can. As far as...
That's a great point, though. Let me interject right there. We've been very kind in hearing testimony on this application for the last 10 or 12 council meetings, and it's been said many times, we have zero jurisdiction over this as a council. It's totally... Let me finish. It's a total another body that has the jurisdiction to oversee this. They went through their proper steps.
I understand.
They had all the professionals give testimony. That owner of that property has the right to do what he would like with his property, just as you as a homeowner can put on a shed, a patio.
You said that, don't take your
So don't think that we're not doing
It's not that I
and
don't.
giving our undue influence as much as we can, but we have zero jurisdiction over this.
Yes, you do.
This municipal land use law that has it.
Yes, you do. You have the...
It's already been approved.
Developer's agreement.
That's the next step, and Tom talked about
and
that.
that comes...
But that's not, it's not even with us, that developer's agreement.
Yes, it has to be. It has to be. You have to participate in it and protect all the citizens of Howell Township. It's our right. So what's going on?
Our number one...
I'm not going to comment on what's past. I'm commenting on what can be done in the future, and it's our right, and it's a matter of...
The council cannot handle planning board applications. I just want to get that clear. What would you like us to do?
Council's responsibility to do the...
What would you like to see us do?
You can't do that.
One at a time, please.
The council, it's a council responsibility to vote on and make the agreement with the developer. approve developers' agreements all the time.
That's not correct, though. It's the developers' responsibility with Freehold Township right now.
The council has to vote on it.
Can we vote on that?
I'd want, may I?
I'll just finish my quick statement, and then you can explain to it, and I think you're going to explain what I'm trying to say. As a municipality, this is our property. We have a right to intercede, even if we have to do it legally, to make sure that our property, our township, is protected in the developer's agreement. Am I not correct?
Let me make a suggestion. Is there going to be a resolution, as far as we know from the planning board, that's been already formulated?
Tom Trinetti just said it's actually not happening Thursday. It's going to be tabled till the...
What I'm saying is there a draft floating around? I'll take a look at it. There may be the opportunity for us to enter in a developer's agreement.
Hold on, Tom. There's way too much sidebar discussion. We can't even hear him.
There may be a opportunity for a developer's agreement that's already going to be incorporated in the resolution. And, I'm on the outside looking in, but you may want to have an agreement, in a local services agreement with Freehold Township and the Township of Howell. These things may have already been anticipated by the planning board, but that sounds like the thing to do.
I agree. That's the kind of thing that I was talking about, because just to protect our people, and I think that's what can be done now. I've seen it done before, and as far as the resolution goes, step back one, unless the law is changed, it's a matter of public record before it's voted on. We used to, like, you put the resolutions up here before you vote on them for people to read and understand them. Well, when I was first on the planning board, and before I was on the planning board, that was done with our resolution. Somewhere along the line it was stopped. But that way, if you had an interest, if you had something coming next to you and it was going to impact you and there was some sort of agreement in that resolution that there would be a mitigation to help you, and it should be recorded in the resolution, you could check that that was correct. And if not, you could speak up before it was voted on. And I would like to see that happen again, because then this would be avoided. And I think in all of his explanation, that's what Abe was trying to say. He would like to see that certain things be guaranteed are in the resolution that were discussed that night.
Mr. Gannon?
Am I not correct? I'm sorry, but am I not correct that you're still, it's a public record?
Could we send some recommendations over to the planning board? Is that the process? Are we allowed to? Are we not allowed to?
Well, I think that if there's circumstances that may affect the developer's agreement or down the line, we may be able to at least ensure that the planning board has addressed these issues. And basically, the action has been taken, and the resolution memorializes that action. So I indicated maybe if we can get a draft before it's voted on, we can maybe indicate to the planning board that it's okay, or maybe they should reconsider this in terms of the future control and maintenance of the basin, which developers agreement between the municipality and the developer is one thing, and then within that, if it's going to indicate that Freehold Township is going to be responsible for maintaining it, then I think it would behoove us and Freehold, hopefully they'd cooperate, to enter into an interlocal agreement wherein they agree to maintain the basin. They would be subject to any easements, the same as the Township of Howell would be. Normally in emergencies they get in there and to maintain it, but they would be the first provider, and at least there's a contract between us and the other local municipality that's enforceable.
Thank you.
So to answer your question, I think, Mr. Walsh, yes. In a limited stage. I mean, I certainly don't want to have precedent set where this governing body is telling the planning board how to deal with, I mean, we'll never get out of here. But, I mean, under this case, it may be a way of dealing with the concerns.
That's why I'm asking your direction. Okay, don't want to overstep my bounds. I've been known to do that on occasions.
I've worked with Mr. Cotero
I've never
for
seen that,
several
Mr.
years,
Morse.
and he's always been very agreeable, and I'm sure he wants what's best for our township, and I'm sure he would gladly cooperate with Mr. Gannon. I'm not speaking for him, it's just my opinion of...
And by the way, I have the highest regard for Mr. Cotero as a planning board attorney.
And it might already be there, we don't know, but this way, the residents can be assured. Now, very quickly, as far as the signs for the farmers, I'm very concerned for what happened to Mr. Kaufman. I have known it to happen to other farmers also. A few years ago on the Forest Farm, and they just have a little sign that says Farm Fresh Vegetables. 100% of everything grown on they don't sell, buy and resell, and I don't believe Mr. Kaufman does either. But the Right to Farm Act, the state's Right to Farm Act, provides for those signs, and our own Right to Farm ordinance mirrors that act. So I think it was taken by mistake, and maybe some township employees need to be informed, because over the years I've seen it happen over and over again, not just with signs, but they forget about the farmer, and there's standard rules and regulations, and they don't make allowance for the exception. So I would just suggest that you check into that, and that would take care of that, and that they put Mr. Kaufman's sign up and not give him trouble anymore. Just a couple of quick things, and what I was going to say, I'll get back to another time. I would like to, I consider it a correction because I want publicly, 9B16, the authorization, that's a reimbursement to us, money that we've already put out for legal fees that the township is responsible for, and I'd like the public to know that Howell Township doesn't pay Pauline for anything. I don't ask anything, don't expect anything, it's a reimbursement. Pete, they're newspaper subscription lots. Postage stamp is just a description. But in actuality, in the 20s and 30s, to sell newspapers, they had this cheap swampland, and if you bought a subscription, you got this little piece of bare swamp. So you know that history. And I like very much what Mr. Zernecki said in the newspaper about the past. You can't know what you're doing in the present and the future without knowing the past. And I really liked his comment. And a little bit of history, I know you'll be interested, I'll tell you another time, but we have been involved with the coordinating or cooperating with the Mongolian people for the last 50 years. It was my honor to be included and when I was on council, and they made such a big deal that they wanted to put me ahead of the head monk, and I'm sorry, I don't know his exact title, it wasn't the Dalai Lama. I was embarrassed. I was brought up to be respectful to a priest. He would always come first, but they consider the public official to come first. So it was an experience for me, and I was glad to see what you said. Thank you. But I will correct you. Howell Township has been on the map for over 200 years.
I know.
And anything else I'll bring up later. Thank you, and thank you for your interest in getting the right thing done for the people of Moore's Landing area.
Point of order, Mr. Deputy Mayor. We haven't heard Mr. Shinecki's reply to Mr. Maggot here.
Well,
He was supposed to speak and address Mr. Maggot's concerns. I'd like to hear that.
Well, I'll maybe have the other people speak, and if you want to address that, you're certainly welcome to. Tom, you want to address it right now, or you want to wait till the rest of the citizens?
I thought we had covered it.
Okay. Barbara Dixell, you're up next. Four more after that. Costigan, Angela, Binning, and Jack.
Barbara Dixell, The Villages, Howell Township, Freehold, Monmouth County. A quick update, please, on the fence.
We have sent a letter to the developer attaching the senator's recommendation. I believe that went out at the end of last week.
Okay, could you provide me with a copy of the letter?
Absolutely.
And also, with regard to New Jersey American Water Company and the intervenors filing that was supposed to have taken place in writing on September 25th, how do we stand?
I believe Mr. Corrigan filed something appropriate with the BPU.
Okay, did it also include the information on the trihalomethanes, even though they were in the federal guidelines and in the limits, they were still on the high side because the DEP...
How do you spell that?
TRIHALOMETHANES.
I'll ask Ed.
In the beginning, I couldn't even pronounce it. Now I'm spitting it out. And the trihalomethanes are chloroform, bromodichloromethane, and dibromochloromethane.
Would you spell them, please? I'm only kidding, Barbara.
Bromodichloromethane, BROMO-DI.
Move on, Barb, move on.
Okay.
Go through the chair, go through the chair.
Barbara, I'll check with Ed and we'll get back to you.
Okay, because they were individually within their limits, together, when those three numbers hit 80, which is the DEP limit for trihalomethanes, that where the utility must fix it, they were still within their limits, but my numbers together came to, from the 2000 testing, the 2006 testing, came this year in 2006, came to 71.47 out of 80, which is still very high, even though it was in the limits. Okay, the fence is taken care of, that is taken care of, the water company. The property, the two lots on Route 9, lots number 23 and 24, can I ask the council or anybody to give any consideration to applying for a grant or whatever? We have to keep into consideration that that's the river. That is our drinking water, that is the Manasquan, that is Banner Meadow Brook. It goes under Route 9, goes to Moore's Landing.
You've made all these points.
I understand that, but I
15
need,
meetings in a row.
I
We
know,
don't
I
own
just
that
need to
property.
ask people, because guess what, guys? If they sell a piece of land and you guys don't take it seriously, if they sell that land and they clear cut those trees, the Monmouth County people that came up from a planning board to sit down and meet with me told me that also this is one of the most, if not the only, environmentally sensitive area in need of being saved, left on Route 9, because it has the river all the way up to the river, all the way up to the Manasquan, all the way to Moore's Landing. The villages, it goes through the entire villages. If they clear cut the trees, if they sell the property, somebody, when I hung the stream map, you have to understand, somebody is not going to have water. Somebody's well is going to run dry. You guys have to understand this. I've been to the governor, I've been to the senator,
Our
I've been to
protection
the
right now
county.
is the municipal land use law.
Okay, so.
We don't own the
but-
property. So if anybody applies as an owner to do something with that property, they will have
Well,
to
guess
abide
what?
by
Hasn't
all
been
the
done
laws
yet,
that
so
exist
maybe we
right
ought to
now.
apply for a grant. Hasn't been done yet, maybe we ought to try buying it. We also have a herd of deer. We also, I'm sure, other endangered species there.
Barbara, what else do you have?
Can we apply for a grant, Mr. Stanicki?
Don't be rude,
We don't own the
please.
property. We'd have to go through condemnation.
No, you don't have to go through condemnation, you can apply for a grant.
Barbara, what do you have next?
I'd like him to answer the question. Can we apply for a grant, sir?
You can apply for grants. Typically for an open space grant, property needs to be listed in your inventory, your open space plan element. You need to, these are more increasingly competitive, these open space grants, and you need to back it up with sound planning. So you can always apply for a grant. I'm not sure in this case, if we were just to go for a grant, it would have much
It doesn't have much merit?
credibility, much merit, correct.
Okay.
I will tell you, as you already know, Barb, there's about a 10-foot section of that piece of property that can be developed right now, based just on the laws that exist right now, so nobody can do anything with it.
13.67
So we are already
acres.
protected by the laws that exist on our books right now.
13.67,
And you know that.
13.67 acres. You know what? It'll be a damn shame if it does. Okay, the next question I have to ask you, Mr. Filiatro, I hear all kinds of things going around, deficit, no deficit, sewer, whatever. Do we have a deficit right now in the sewer department?
Yes, sewer department finished the year with a a deficit.
Of how much?
I believe with I was just talking to the auditors, I could calculate at 200,000. They've revised it to 166,000.
So there is no surplus in the sewer department right now?
Now, there is existing surplus. It's just that for the year ended with more expenses than revenue.
How much of a surplus do you have?
There is 587,000, off the top of my head, 500 and something thousand dollars.
So there is a surplus. Okay. If there is a major sewer emergency, will we have to bond to fix it?
No.
Being given the fact that there was $2 million at the end of the last administration, if you have $1 million or $2 million
In addition to $500,000 worth of operating surplus, there is over $1 million in capital reserves in the sewer fund. So, no, there'll be no necessity to bond for an emergency repair.
Okay. Okay, the only other thing I do want to say, and I did put in an RTC to do whatever they can on Wyckoff Mills Road, both sides, given the fact that we've got a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit and a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit that nobody really observes. So I did put an RTC in for the police department and whatever to do whatever they can, because I've been getting calls and people in the villages, they can't get in, can't get out, their cars are still going too fast, there's going too fast down Wyckoff, coming both directions. So whatever they can do, I'd appreciate it. I guess that's it. I guess that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. John Costigan, you're next. We have three more after John: Angela, Vinnie, and Jack.
And Carl?
And then Carl.
John Costigan, 214 Birdsall Road. I'll try and be quickly. I want to make sure Mr. Walsh gets home.
Thank you, John.
Regarding what Mrs. Smith said about the farmer signs, I'm glad she brought it up, because we do have a Right to Farm Act. I had spoken that same day that Mr. Kaufman, I was aware Mr. Kaufman had a problem on his farm. I spoke to two people, Mrs. Hoover, who's the code enforcement person, and I spoke to the manager, Mr. Chernetsky, who was really great. He told me he would take care of it, and he took care of it, and I was glad to see that. I don't think that the farmers have a big problem with those signs. That was meant for other things. Mrs. Dixell was just here, lots 23 and 24 by the Manasquan River. I'm going to meet with her Thursday morning, 8 o'clock. We're going to walk that area. I've already spoken to the park system, county park system. They may very well be interested in that area. They like to protect the rivers. They like to try and get easements for those river areas. So we'll see what can be done with that.
Thursday morning, 8 o'clock, Mr. Costigan?
Yes, sir.
Do you mind if I walk it with you?
I don't mind.
Where are you meeting, sir?
But I'm going to Mrs. Dixell's house, because I don't know, she'll show me. So, they may not let you in. I'm making a joke.
I figured I'd laugh if you
could come
a joke.
with me. Also, the Howell Day, I'm asking this question because someone else couldn't stay to ask. It had to do with the making sure we have enough recycling receptacles there on Howell Day for the glass, the bottles, the cans, plastics, etc. My main reason for coming up here, this is all stuff that's showed up lately. Toll Brothers, on Adelphia Road, that development, there's a 35-acre piece there. I think I read in the newspapers that you guys are going to help preserve that farm, that 35-acre farm. And I think that Ziggy
It's on the
Panic.
east side of Fairfield. Huh?
Yeah, it's right. It's it's in that area.
Yeah.
It's a nice 35-acre farm. It's good soil in that area. And I think Zig Panic, the certified tree expert, said that with the county park system, when they lease that, they don't just lease it for $1. They lease it to a farmer for the going rate, which could be, if nothing else, some money's come into the town. And I know we have some good farmers, that Angelo Di Gregorio is close by, he'd probably love to get that piece. So I'm hoping that you will do, as I thought I read in the newspaper, and I thank you if you do. Also, I notice you have 9A2 through 7, introduction of ordinances for the next time frame.
Yeah, next regular meeting.
I had mentioned, I had asked Mr. Newcomb, probably, I see he's gone home, probably 2 years ago on the planning board, about how we got to have a builder's acre in this town and how to get rid of it.
Well, they're doing that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I see that ordinance in there too.
It's happening.
That could be a quick one. And I thank you. Last thing, Preservation Task Force. This council has been kind enough to give us 2 alternates when we asked for them. I'd like to ask for an amendment of that ordinance to include 2 more alternates. Now, the reasons aren't that I need someone for a quorum. The reasons are the state's drying up on the monies, and I'm trying to put together within the task force a subcommittee to study reaching out for other funds. Of course, under the auspices of the chief financial officer and the manager, but to study those areas of what we can do.
Do you have people in mind already that you might want?
No, I don't have people in mind because I have to be mindful that 3/5 of the task force has to be farmers. The other 2/5 don't have to be. And the alternates, I guess, we really don't count, but I'm mindful. I'd prefer getting farmers with, the last person that you assigned me on the task force, Christopher Estevez, is a financial person. I would like to get someone to work with him. They don't have to be financially, he's the guy, he's fine. He's got an MBA. And the other thing is, I shouldn't speak for the Farmers Advisory, but they didn't have a meeting for lack of a quorum this last month, and I would think that of the last 9 months, they probably, quite a few of them have been no quorums. What happens is they have to be all farmers on that committee by ordinance, and farmers have to work, and they won't be around till the harvest. So we lose some of our good farmers that are on this committee during the growing season. And the Farmers Advisory has a responsibility to be going through the sketch plats that go through all the other boards, and they make comments on the different developments in relation to whether they're encroaching on a farm or a farm buffer. So when they don't have a quorum, they don't get any of those maps done. And when they do have a quorum, the remainder of what was left over from the last times that they didn't have quorums, they're trying to make them, they're up till 1 o'clock in the morning. They're not getting a chance to concentrate on some of the other things they should be doing as a Farmers Advisory. So, and I can't speak for them, but I think it'd probably be, if you're amending my ordinance, you probably should look into amending the Farmers Advisory ordinance, but after consulting with the Farmers Advisory. And I thank you very much.
And you'd like to add a couple more people to the Farmers Advisory also, Mr. Kotzky?
That's what he suggested.
It's not my place, but I think you probably have to. They're not having the quorums.
Okay.
And they're not able to operate without the quorums.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, one final thing. Thank you for remembering our deceased heroes from Iraq and Afghanistan. I hope we don't have any more, but I'm happy to see we're there. Thank you.
Angela Dalton. Hello, Angela.
Hi, good evening. Angela Dalton, 13 Madeline Court. I will be very brief, being mindful of the hour and of Mr. Walsh and everyone else's family obligations. I have made a comment about this in the past, and I want to reiterate it again. I'm an attorney, and I just don't get the agenda. It's confusing, and I don't think it works, and I can't imagine that the people can follow it. I had a lot of comments on some of the issues, which I won't go into, that are on the consent agenda, which have already been adopted, so my comments are meaningless, including questions about 9B22, authorizing additional funds, $4,000 for utility engineer Mazer Consulting. As I read the backup on that, it looks like we ran out of money for the engineering on that issue, and we're moving the money from legal over to engineering. My question was going to be, are we going to run out of money in legal? Are we going to have to come back and shift money around again?
Jeff, you want to address that?
I don't know that off the top of my head right now. I've been doing projections for our November transfer. It doesn't appear to be.
I mean, I just think that the council might take under advisement that perhaps we could have short comment at the beginning of the meeting on the items on the consent agenda by the public, so that some of the opinions that may be significant or influential, or someone may have something to offer, could be taken into consideration before everything gets voted on at once. The other thing I wanted to talk about, and a lot of people have spoken about it already, is the Kaufman Farm and those issues. That farm is, I think, the epitome, those farms, that farm stand, of what it means to be in our community in Howell Township. And I just want to make sure their 4x8 sign is allowed to be back up.
We are looking at, well, two things. One, the council has requested that we look at our sign ordinance. The sign with the slots, is that what you're talking about? To my knowledge, no, that's not back up, but we're looking at the right to farm law and some grandfathering issues to see what we can do there. But that particular sign is not on his property. It's on another property owner's property.
With permission to be there, as I understand it.
Oh, well, that's, not permission from the township.
But permission from the property owner to have it there.
I haven't seen that.
I mean, it goes without saying, and Mr. Malave talked about it in his opening comments, that this is first and foremost, Howell's a farming community, and we need to preserve that. The other thing is, active farming is absolutely the most cost-effective way for the township to keep development in check. When we have active farms, we don't have development on those properties, they don't drain our resources, and they don't cost us anything. I just hope that this, whatever it's done, there's only a month left in the selling season, or a month and a half for the farm. And I don't want to say, the other thing I wanted to know is this the only farm, or were all the farms targeted?
I think every sign was targeted.
Every sign was targeted. If there was a sign, it was targeted. If it was illegal, it came down.
Thank you for your comments, Angela. Next is Vinnie Tantilla.
Vinnie Tantillo, Casino Drive. Ms. Chinecki, they do have permission for that property. That sign's been up for 5 years. And not picking on Ms. Hoover, but she was the one that made them take it down, or they were going to get a $1,000 a week fine, which I think is really ridiculous. Also, the Farmers Advisory Board has been aware of this, and the Right to Farm Act does cover them for signs. They can even spread manure on Sunday and nobody can bother them. But it seems like some of the township officials, whether it be political or not, I don't know, but it should be stopped. Because there are farms, like Ms. Dalton just asked, there are farms that weren't bothered. There's signs all over this township. 3 weeks ago, I think it was, we had somebody come in and say, yeah, they went out and they picked up 4 million signs, however many you picked up. But yet, I love DeBella was still in front of places. To this day, they're still up. Nobody touches them. And I'm not picking on Mr. DeBella, but because he's the mayor, is that why these signs aren't picked up? Mr. Panic works for the township. There's one right in front of his house.
We didn't touch anybody's political signs. Those are allowed to be there.
I'm not talking about political signs. That is not a political sign. Has no right being up. Why is it up? He's not running for office.
Well,
why is it up?
Well, I'll get a legal
They were stuck
opinion
on my
it, but,
property with no permission. I didn't get anybody fined. I took them down and threw them in here. And Mr. Curry took them home. But it's all ridiculous. I mean, it's like a bunch of little kids. Leave these farmers the hell alone. They're trying to make a living. 3 months out of the year, they make money. That's it.
Mr. Cantilla, I've heard from Mr. Kaufman, and I've been communicating with him. I haven't heard from another farmer, and we're addressing his concerns. We picked up 600 signs that were spread around town illegally. If some signs got caught in that, and situations need to be rectified, let me assure you that they're being done in the most professional manner. There's no political considerations at all. If there is a sign expressing a political opinion on someone's private lawn and they want it there, I've always assumed that to be a political sign on someone's private lawn, whether they're expressing support for troops, support for the mayor, opposition to the mayor, what have you. But I'd be certainly obtain an opinion from the attorney whether or not I'm right or wrong in that outlook.
Okay, so I expect that these I Love DeBella signs will be put behind and on their property lines, not out near the poles.
If they're on their property lines and they don't
That's fine with me if
object
they're on
to
their
it,
property. I don't
Yeah.
care about that.
Yeah.
It's just hypocritical to do one thing and not do it all the way. That's all I'm saying. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it was my sign. It shouldn't be done that way. Everybody should be equal.
I agree with you 100%, and I think it's critical that the staff and the manager's office be seen as carrying out the policies of the governing body objectively. So if you're aware of a situation that might present that appearance, and I would appreciate you letting me know exactly where.
Okay.
And I will go out there and see it myself, because protecting the reputation of the staff is critical for us to having the trust and confidence of the public.
Okay. The other thing is, Mr. Tabasco, you talked about a place on Casino Drive. I don't want to interrupt your phone call.
That was Joe.
You said Ketchum Road and Casino Drive, I think. Did you mean Lemon Road and Casino Drive?
For
For the soccer field? You said you were looking into a soccer field?
Ketchum,
It's near Ketchum.
near Ketchum up by Hoffman Field, where behind the tax building there.
Behind where?
It actually does probably back up pretty close to the river, not all the way to
Talking about
Casino, but
the Hoffman Fields, an
The Hoffman
extension
Field,
of, potential extension of that.
That's,
It's behind the fields that are already there,
I'm
Vin.
trying to
where the
figure where it
where the
is.
tax building is, where
Yeah.
the Pinelanders play on Hoffman Fields, and behind that, there's about 10
Oh,
acres
that's not
between there.
Casino Drive.
Yeah, it backs
It's
up
pretty
almost
close.
to Casino
It backs
Drive.
up
You'd be
almost
It runs
shocked.
all the way up?
You'd
It
be
backs up to the
shocked.
river. It gets pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to ask one question. You talk about facts, and I'm glad you did. Did we look into to see if the Parks Department wants to buy it before us, or
When you say part, you mean the county? or
the
you
county?
mean-
Yes.
There's,
Well, it seems like the Parks Department are the one that wind up with it. But did we look to see if the county is trying to buy it first, before we get into the same situation as Harm's property when they want it?
I
and
will
we
tell
want
you
to buy
that
it?
particular piece of property has been, discussed for better than 10 years, just like a number of the other ones. It's not something new. So all discussions have happened with every entity possible regarding that piece of property.
Okay.
There actually is a passive parking lot there for people to get in their canoes and go down the
To
river
go
right
down,
by
yeah,
that
right.
spot. So the
Right,
county
yeah.
obviously would be interested in it.
Only one more thing, and I'll get out of here. The ATV law, Tom, you were talking about maybe they implement a fine or something when the police catch them. When the police catch them, they confiscate the ATVs, and then they go for auction, I imagine. But how do you fine a kid? Does their mother and father have to pay for this because they went to somebody's property?
Hey, Vinny, you're not being recorded very well,
We're
just so
gonna-
you know. You have to...
We're going to work that out in the details of the ordinance. We don't have a draft here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Vin. Jack, Brandon, Jack, you're up.
I'll pass because of the hour.
Oh, thanks. Carl, you're going to be the last speaker.
Carl Wisner, 376 Conover Street, Howell, New Jersey. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Chernecki for following up on my earlier comments at an earlier meeting about the litter on White Street. Not only did he send a letter to the Wawa executives at their home office, he also visited the local management and talked with them, and I just want to say I appreciate that follow-up, and it seems to be making some difference. There's still a lot of litter hitting the ground, but it seems to be being picked up more. So I haven't seen them doing it per se, but something's happening, and I appreciate it. I assume that nothing was said about the AST Rubenstein COA decision at this point. There's nothing left, still nothing to talk about publicly, correct?
Very, very close.
Very close.
I would love for it to be where I could actually say something about it right now, but I
Right.
can't.
Well, that's all I'm asking. You don't know, you can't speak, I gotta wait. Okay. Last question. October 28th, there is a huge COA date coming up, I understand, and I don't have time here to get into the details about it because of the late hour, but I'd just like to ask if the three of you are familiar with that date and the fact that Howell Township, I believe, has to put a plan in to protect our COA 2 status, et cetera, ad nauseum. Are you guys aware of that, and are you comfortable Howell Township is doing what it needs to do so that we don't have builder remedies after October 28th?
I can't actually disclose when I'm in an executive session, but we are very aware of what's going on.
All I want to hear is that you're aware of it, you're doing the right things, and you feel that Howell Township
Is
is
anybody
protected.
not confident that we're doing? We're all pretty confident, I think.
Mr. Chinecki, can we be doing anything more than we're doing now?
No, sir.
Mr. Gannon, do you think we're doing all we could do?
Well, not that you're doing all you can do. Do you feel that we're going to be protected October 28th?
Yeah, with respect to that date, you should know also that, and I think I could say this, that we've requested and are confident in extension.
Right, that's standard.
But beyond that, we are still working towards that date.
Okay, I'm just looking for a comfort factor. Thank you.
All right, that ends public comment, and I will now go through a couple other things. First, for informational purposes, again, I want to repeat that our public participation meeting next week is not going to be in Town Hall. It is actually going to be at Howell Memorial Middle School. We'll have the usual start time at 7:30. The regular meeting is Tuesday, October 17, and that'll be 6:30 for our executive session back here at Town Hall, and then 8 o'clock for the citizens to come and participate in the public part of that session. The hearing of citizens actually takes place up front during the regular meetings. I'll ask Bob and Juan if they have any more comments. I actually do have one, which I just remembered. I should have done this up front, but I did just remember one. Do you guys have any more comments?
No, sir.
I'd like to ask Mr. Gannon, would you answer that, do you think we're doing all we could do about that October 28th date? If there's something else we need to do, I'd just like to hear it, that's all.
I'm not aware of it. I know we're acting in good faith, where our professionals have been charged with with making that happen, and I'm confident that we will be protected and meet the mandates of the Council on Affordable Housing.
Well, if you're confident, I'm confident, Mr. Gannon.
I'm confident.
When Kristen and, was it Paul, I think your first name was?
Paul.
I got it right, look at that. When they came up and mentioned that they were from 28 Higgins Street, it lit what was going on with me the past week and a half with regards to another quality of life issue in that neighborhood. I'm surprised actually nobody came up to speak about it tonight. But Tom, we talked about it offline a little bit, and I want the rest of the council members to know that through Tom, I asked to have our cell tower expert contacted. I asked for us to have conversations actually with the Ramtown Fire people there. I want to set up a meeting with Mr. Kelly. I want it to eventually be a win-win-win for everybody over there, but I will tell you, it's a huge quality of life issue over there for what's actually being taken under consideration. And they do have their, just like with the planning board, the fire districts are their own legal entity. They have jurisdiction to do what they want on property that they own, technically. They have to come for us for applications, et cetera, but there was some steps taken by them to do something which may not be in the best interest of the citizens that live right there. So we have actually started some processes to maybe see what we can do with undue influence again to try to step in on that situation. So if you want to know more, I don't want it to be political. I'm just telling you that there's some stuff going on behind the scenes.
I'm not talking about it.
Mr. Gannon, that's an application that I believe is currently in front of the planning board.
In front of the zoning board. We can't really undo the influence that.
I mean, is this something that we want to set up meetings with the department and this and that to interfere in this process? I don't feel comfortable doing that unless you say it's okay.
Well, if you're dealing with a particular application, certainly that's the jurisdiction of the Board of Adjustment. If there's other like issues or that type of thing, you might want to deal with that. But the particular application right now, is it before the board?
Yes.
You should take a hands-off attitude.
Yeah, you can't really give any opinion, but I will tell you that I do know from what other people are telling me that the applicant technically has other lands around there. So, once again, whatever we can do and not cause issues legally, I'd like to see if we can exert some influence there to make it a win-win for everybody, especially when quality of life is a huge issue. And we're supposed to be protecting that.
Take me home, Pete.
Yep, so with that, unless you guys have other comments, I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Penny, can you call the roll? You want this to be an all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Good night. All right, good night, everybody. It's 11:46.
Yankees win? What's the scoop?